Chapter 1. Divorce. Let's get divorced. At the entrance of Tianhai City Prison, Yi Qiu looked at his wife, whom he had missed for 2 years, with astonishment on his face. He never expected that what awaited him upon his release wasn't kisses and embraces, but a divorce agreement. 2 years ago, to protect his wife, he accidentally injured the man who harassed her, only to end up imprisoned for 2 years. Because of this, he lost his job, his future, and was even separated from his 2-year-old daughter. Day and night, he longed to return home. But upon his release, this was what greeted him. What? Yi Qiu felt as though his heart had been gouged out. Do you have any idea how I've survived these past 2 years? Li Hongmei's voice trembled with emotion as she spoke. I'm terrified of being poor. I refuse to live without money or dignity anymore. I can't stand being mocked anymore. I can't bear people whispering that my husband served jail time. She struggled to steady her breathing, hating how she had to bargain with vegetable vendors over pennies while others flaunted their designer clothes and handbags. I won't make the same mistake twice. Yi Qiu felt a sudden pang in his heart. Even without going to prison, he was just an intern doctor whose monthly salary barely covered meals, far from meeting Li Hongmei's demands. He glanced at the luxury car parked by the roadside as the window slowly rolled down, revealing a smug face. It was none other than that rich second-generation classmate who had once harassed his wife. Yi Qiu's eyes instantly blazed with fire, as if everything had become clear. Yi Qiu, let me go, Li Hongmei said coldly. What about our daughter? Yi Qiu took a deep breath, barely suppressing her fury. How could Li Hongmei be so heartless, abandoning even her own daughter for her own selfish gain? I can't take along a burden. Here's your daughter. Li Hongmei's voice carried a chill. She couldn't possibly bring her daughter with her, as it would only complicate her life. Someone in the luxury car was urging her on. Without hesitation, she shoved the signed divorce papers into Yi Qiu's hands, turned around, and stepped into the car, leaving without a shred of sentiment. Yi Qiu felt the world spinning around him, his mind blank. Never in his wildest dreams had he imagined things would end this way. He had rushed home joyfully, but where was home now? Gone. My daughter. Thinking of his daughter, Yi Qiu suddenly jolted awake. Li Hongmei had actually left their daughter alone at home. He hurried back immediately. Standing at the familiar spot, holding the familiar key, Yi Qiu's hands trembled slightly. For 2 long years, this very scene had replayed in his mind every night, unlocking the door to be greeted by his wife and daughter rushing toward him with joyous laughter. But instead of laughter, a musty odor greeted him as he turned the key. The unlocked door revealed a disorderly home. In the living room, a little girl with disheveled hair knelt scrubbing the floor. At the sound of the door, she looked up with bright eyes clouded by confusion, clearly not expecting anyone but her mother to walk through that doorway. Little fish, Yi Qiu called out, his voice trembling slightly. Dad! Yi Xiaoyu was momentarily stunned, but quickly recognized the voice and the face. Even though 2 years had passed without seeing him, that familiar feeling returned instantly. Is it really you, Dad? Yi Xiaoyu asked again, but without waiting for Yi Qiu's nod, she jumped to her feet and sprinted forward, throwing herself into his arms. Dad, it's really you. Dad! The words daddy made Yi Qiu's nose twitch with emotion. How could he possibly hold back? Clutching Xiao Yuer, his body trembled uncontrollably. It's Daddy. Daddy's back. My daddy's back. Xiao Yuer stared at the man before her, pointing at Yi Qiu's nose, eyes, ears, and eyebrows, carefully comparing them to her memories. Exactly the same as in the photos. It really is Daddy. It's Daddy. She leaped with joy, and only then did Yi Qiu notice that Xiao Yuer's pants were not only torn and filthy, they were clearly too small for her. How on earth has Li Hongmei been taking care of the child these past 2 years? Yi Qiu grew angrier the more he thought about it. But in an instant, his rage dissipated, replaced by self-reproach and guilt. If he hadn't gone to prison, they wouldn't have ended up like this. Daddy, will you still go on business trips? Yi Xiaoyu tugged at Yi Qiu's hand, her eyes full of grievance. Mommy told me Daddy went on a business trip and that Daddy would only come back if Xiaoyu behaved. Look, I've wiped the floor clean, cleaned the windows, and even washed all the clothes, all by myself. Little Fish wrinkled her nose proudly, showing off her household chores. Never again. From now on, Dad will take little fish wherever he goes, Yi Qiu said with red-rimmed eyes. As if suddenly remembering something, Yi Xiaoyu's little feet pattered quickly across the floor as she dashed to the cabinet. She dug out a bucket of instant noodles, her face beaming with joy. Mom said we can only celebrate when there's something happy. Can I eat it now? You can only eat instant noodles during celebrations? Yi Qiu gritted his teeth as he took the noodles and glanced at them. They had long exceeded their expiration date. The anger he had just suppressed surged up again instantly. Let's not eat instant noodles. How about Dad cooks for you instead? He picked up little Fishy, gently tidied her hair, and tied it into pigtails. No matter how the world changed, no matter who left him, as long as his daughter was by his side, home would always be there. Little fish, sit here quietly while Daddy cooks for you. Yi Xiaoyu nodded vigorously. Yi Qiu walked into the kitchen, looked at the disastrous mess of pots and pans, clenched his fists, and anger surged through him. He opened the fridge, nothing inside except for moldy greens. Bang! Unable to contain his rage any longer, he punched the wall with full force. The shattered tiles instantly cut his hand, and blood began to flow freely. Yet Yi Qiu seemed impervious to the pain. He was consumed by hatred. Hatred for Li Hongmei's cruelty toward their daughter. Hatred for that rich second-generation classmate of hers who had ruined his life. And most of all, hatred for his own powerlessness. Had he been stronger, how could he have lost his wife? How could he have allowed his daughter to endure such suffering? Gradually, the pain cooled Yi Qiu's rage. Unnoticed by him, blood from his hand trickled onto the bracelet around his wrist, an heirloom passed down through generations of his family. Suddenly, a flash of light streaked past, and Yi Qiu felt his vision instantly flooded with brilliance. A buzzing sound erupted in his mind as if vast amounts of information were forcibly poured into him, accompanied by a voice ringing out. Only with righteous energy in your body can you master the righteous energy technique. The legacy of the divine physician shall now be passed to you. Chapter 2. Intentional, a massive surge of information was violently forced into Yi Qiu's mind, causing excruciating pain. Yi Qiu couldn't help but let out a loud cry. Hearing the noise, hurried footsteps sounded from outside as Yi Xiaoyu came rushing over. Dad, what's wrong with you? Yi Qiu leaned against the wall, his body trembling until the pain gradually faded away. What has happened? I'm fine. Seeing Yi Xiaoyu's worried expression, Yi Qiu forced a smile and quickly explained, I just pinched my hand in the refrigerator. Turning his head, he suddenly realized he could see every meridian and channel on Yi Xiaoyu's body. Was it just his imagination? Yi Qiu shook his head vigorously. When he looked again, the vision had disappeared. It must have been his eyes playing tricks on him. It seems my emotions are fluctuating too much, to the point of having hallucinations, but those memories in my mind. Yi Qiu picked up Xia, noticing the worry in her eyes, and softly chuckled. Don't worry, Xia, Daddy's fine. Does it hurt? Xiaoyu took Yi Qiu's finger and gently blew on it. Xiaoyu will help Daddy blow on it to make it better. It doesn't hurt, not anymore, Yi Qiu said, gently patting Xiaoyu's head. Daddy will take you out to eat. Hearing they were going out to eat, Xiaoyu seemed a bit cautious, as if dining out was something she'd never dared to imagine. Daddy, Xiaoyu doesn't have money. Daddy does. Yi Qiu forced a smile. Let's go. They had just reached the door when click, it opened. Li Hongmei stood at the entrance with an unnatural expression, seeing Yi Qiu carrying their daughter. I just came to get some things and will leave immediately. Yi Qiu remained silent, while Xiaoyu wriggled out of his arms upon seeing her mother. She ran up to Li Hongmei, her face brimming with joy. Mom, Dad's back, and he's taking us out to eat. Little Fish was good today, Mom. Please don't be mad at Little Fish anymore, okay? Li Hong kept a cold expression, pushed Little Fish away without a word, hurried into the house to grab a few things, and then rushed off again. A hint of confusion and disappointment flickered across Little Fish's face as she turned to look at Yi Qiu, seemingly puzzled as to why Li Hongmei was ignoring her. Why did Mommy leave? Little Fish pouted, feeling somewhat wronged. Doesn't Mommy like me? Yi Qiu's throat seemed to clamp shut as if something was stuck in it. He opened his mouth to explain, but little fish asked again, "Daddy, what does dead weight mean?" Mom said I was a burden. Little fish, be good. Mommy has things to take care of, so Daddy will take you out to eat. How about some fried chicken legs? Great. At the mention of food, Yi Xiaoyu immediately cheered up. A child's emotions come and go quickly. Yi Qiu led Xiaoyu downstairs. The black Mercedes was parked right there. Seeing Yi Qiu approach, the driver's side window rolled down, revealing an unbearably smug face. "Yi Qiu, I haven't had the chance to congratulate you yet. Congrats on getting out." Sun Long smiled deliberately. "Don't worry, I've been taking very good care of Hongmei these past 2 years, and I'll keep taking even better care of her from now on." Li Hongmei, sitting in the passenger seat, bit her lip and gently tugged at Sun Long's sleeve, signaling him to stop talking, but Sun Long paid her no heed. Yi Qiu remained silent as he led Xiaoyu away. He understood that Sun Long was deliberately trying to provoke him. The angrier and more frustrated he felt, the more pleasure Sun Long would take in it. Inside the burger restaurant, the crowd bustled back and forth. Yi Qiu held Xiaoyu's hand as they stood in line. "Wow, it smells so good." Yi Xiaoyu blinked her eyes, watching others receive their meals. The tantalizing aroma wafted through the air, making her swallow hard. "Dad, can I just have one? Please." "Of course, have as many as you'd like," Yi Qiu replied. Just as it was Yi Qiu's turn to order, another snide remark came from behind him. "Waiter, I'm covering everyone's expenses today. Every bill in this restaurant is on me." It was Sun Long's voice. He deliberately shouted loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear while pointing at them, especially them. "Give them extra." Normally, they wouldn't even dare indulge in this. Yi Qiu frowned, never expecting Sun Long to be so persistent, deliberately following them. This was simply going too far. "Daddy." Little fish, Yi seemed somewhat frightened, quickly clinging to Yi Qiu and burying her face in his chest. Yi Qiu struggled to contain his anger, not wanting to resort to violence in front of his daughter. "Yi Qiu, no need to stand on ceremony with me. I know you're broke, but you shouldn't let the kids suffer either," Sun Long said with a deliberate smirk. "For Hongmei's sake, what's one meal between us?" Li Hongmei from behind lowered her voice and tugged at Sun Long's sleeve. "Stop talking," she urged. "Why shouldn't I?" he retorted. Sun Long was all fired up. "I've been looking out for you on his behalf all these years, even treating him to meals. Isn't that enough to show I'm a good friend?" The onlookers watched the commotion, clueless about what had happened. Yi Qiu had no desire to get involved. He simply hugged Yi Xiaoyu and turned to leave. Suddenly, someone screamed, "Ah, what's wrong? Honey, what's wrong? Help, help!" A middle-aged woman stood in panic, utterly at a loss. Beside her, a man clutched his throat, his face turning purplish red, veins bulging prominently on his forehead. "Help! Save him!" The surrounding crowd immediately scattered in fear, not daring to get closer, afraid of getting involved. As the man seemed on the verge of suffocating, Yi Qiu quickly stepped forward. Glancing at the chicken bones on the table, he immediately focused on the man's throat. In that instant, his eyes seemed to shimmer with an unusual light. In that moment, he could clearly see a chicken bone lodged in the man's windpipe. "Step aside." Without hesitation, Yi Qiu set Xiaoyu down and immediately moved behind the man. He pressed his hands against the man's navel and delivered forceful thrusts. Bang! 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 After 3 consecutive impacts, the man let out a loud gasp and spat out a thick chicken bone. Finally, he could breathe again. "Huff, I almost died. Thank you. Thank you so much." The man gasped heavily, his face filled with gratitude. The surrounding crowd erupted into applause. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. If not for Yi Qiu's quick reaction, the man would have choked to death. The couple couldn't stop thanking him, and the surrounding crowd couldn't help but cheer. "Don't mention it," Yi Qiu nodded. "I'm a doctor. It's my duty." Hearing everyone praise her father, Xiaoyu became excited, lifting her head proudly. "That's my dad. My dad's a doctor." "A doctor?" But Sun Long scoffed disdainfully. "Someone with a revoked medical license dares call themselves a doctor?" As soon as these words were spoken, the shop fell silent. Chapter 3: Abandoning Us. No one had expected that Yi Qiu was actually a doctor with a revoked medical license. Why was his license revoked? Could it have been a fatal medical malpractice incident? You should be grateful you're still alive. Sun Long glanced at the man and said provocatively. The couple's expressions darkened immediately upon hearing this. It seemed Yi Chio's intervention wasn't necessary after all, and might even have endangered their lives instead of helping. Mind your own business. The woman glared at Yi Chio, hurling the insult before hastily dragging her companion away. Yi Chio hadn't expected that saving someone would earn him curses instead of thanks. The surrounding crowd reacted in various ways, but not a single word of gratitude or praise remained. Sun Long delighted in seeing Yi Chio being targeted. He couldn't stand the thought of Yi Chio having even a moment's peace. Without a word, Yi Chio left with Xiao Yuer in tow. What? Not eating anymore. I told you it's on me. It doesn't matter if you're broke. Behind him, Sun Long's mocking voice rang out, but Yi Chio remained indifferent. The little fish in his arms seemed to understand something too, staying unusually quiet without fussing for food. Daddy, let's go home. All right. Let's go buy groceries. How about Daddy fries you a sunny-side-up egg? Yes, yes. As the two made their way to the market and had just finished shopping, a figure suddenly came sprinting down the alley, shouting frantically as they ran, "Move aside! Move aside!" Behind him, another man, with a stern face, was chasing and shouting, "Stop!" Just as he was about to catch up, two people appeared from the side, picked up a bamboo basket from the ground, and threw it over the pursuer, followed by a flurry of punches and kicks. "We'll kill him." The bystanders were terrified and quickly backed away. The leader, wearing a fierce expression, pulled out a knife from somewhere and thrust it directly at the person under the bamboo basket. That single stab would surely take his life. Someone screamed in horror, sending the crowd fleeing in panic. The nearest operative, Yi Chio, didn't hesitate for a second. He shoved Xiao Yuer into the crowd and darted forward with such speed that even he couldn't comprehend his own movements. Bang! He felt a surge of energy erupt within his body in an instant. The punch landed squarely on the knife-wielding assailant, sending him flying backward. The blade clattered loudly as it hit the ground. Meanwhile, the man under the basket had already broken free. Swiftly subduing the other two, he yanked handcuffs from his waist and snapped them shut around the duo's wrists. Staring at the sharp knife on the ground, Zhao Jianlin realized just how dangerous the situation had been. If Yi Chio hadn't stepped forward, he might have met his end today. "Don't move. Stay put." Soon, several more people arrived and helped Zhao Jianlin restrain the assailant. "Young man, thank you," Zhao Jianlin gasped, nodding at Yi Chio. "You saved my life." Before Yi Chio could process what happened, he stared at his own hands in disbelief. He couldn't believe that the person who had displayed such terrifying, explosive power moments ago was actually himself. Hearing Zhao Jianlin speaking to him, he finally looked up and was just about to say "no need to thank me" when the light in his eyes reappeared. He noticed there was actually a black dot on Zhao Jianlin's chest, spreading outward. It was already quite severe. "Your old injury has worsened," Yi Chio said, staring fixedly at Zhao Jianlin. Hearing this, Zhao Jianlin froze in surprise, his expression turning even more bewildered by Yi Chio's gaze. He had never told anyone about this old injury on his body. Lately, it had been aching dully, but he was too busy to find time to visit the hospital. "How did you know about my old injury?" Zhao Jianlin was astonished. He never imagined this young man before him could be aware of such a private matter regarding his injury. Yi Chio didn't elaborate further. After hesitating for a moment, he considered staying out of it but ultimately couldn't resist speaking up. "If you trust me, come find me as soon as possible. This injury of yours can't be delayed any longer." Leaving behind his address and phone number, he then left with Xiao Yuer. Looking at the address left by Yi Chio, Zhao Jianlin touched his wound, feeling a dull pain. But he was in a hurry to investigate the case. There was no time to spare. "This guy is no ordinary man," Zhao Jianlin murmured with deep, thoughtful eyes as he tucked the note into his pocket and led his team away. Along the way, Xiao Yuer giggled happily. "Dad, you're amazing. Everyone is praising you. Dad, you're the best. Dad, are you a superhero?" Xiao Yuer was happier than anyone when she heard others applauding and praising Yi Chio. She felt proud. This was her father. "Dad isn't a superhero. Ichio gently pinched little Yuer's nose and said, "But Daddy is your guardian angel. How about your guardian angel cooks something yummy for you?" "Awesome." With a loud wah, little fish planted a big kiss on Ichio's cheek, as if rewarding him. Returning home, tidying up, and cleaning the house. Only by restoring order and neatness does it begin to feel like a home again. Ichio simply stir-fried a couple of dishes, and little fish happily devoured them. Grains of rice sticking to the corners of her mouth, too engrossed to wipe them away. "Slow down. No one's going to take your food," Ichio couldn't help but say with concern. Don't they usually cook at home? He couldn't fathom how Li Hongmei was raising the child that a 4-year-old could be this thrilled over a decent meal. Little fish, Yi shook her head as if remembering something, pressing her lips together. She put down her spoon and suddenly looked upset. "What's wrong?" Ichio asked. "Daddy," Xiaoyer's eyes seemed to glisten with unshed tears. "Did Mommy not want us anymore?" Chapter 4. Save my life, children may be young, but they understand everything deep down. Xiaoyu looked at Chio, tears dripping down her cheeks. Why hasn't Mom come home? Why did she leave with someone else? Ichio didn't know how to respond. Matters between adults were ultimately being borne by a child. The cruelty of it truly struck him. Would it be okay if Daddy stayed with you from now on? He reached out, gently stroking Yi Xiaoyu's head. Mom has her own choices to make. But you must remember, she will always be your mother, and she loves you very much. I understand. Little Yu wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. Despite her tender age, she seemed able to endure anything. Mom told me that as long as I behave, Dad will come back. Now I can wipe tables, wash vegetables, and even do laundry. So Dad, you've come back. If little Yu learns to do even more, Mom will come back too, right? As she spoke between bites of her meal, little Fishy will definitely be obedient. Ichio felt his nose tingling with emotion. Such a young child, yet having to do so many things. He could understand and accept Li Hongmei's indifference toward him, but her treatment of Yi Xiaoyu that he truly couldn't forgive. After finishing the meal and tidying up, Ichio let little Fishy watch some television before coaxing her to sleep. Gazing at the familiar room, where everything had changed except the surroundings, Ichio smiled bitterly and mocked himself. Back then, he'd acted recklessly, even assaulting Sun Long to protect Li Hongmei, never imagining it would lead to this outcome. But even if given another chance, he would never allow his woman to be bullied. After finishing the cleaning and taking a shower, Ichio returned to his room. He still found it hard to believe the changes around him. He examined his body, wondering what that mysterious energy inside him was, and why his eyes could see deep into the human body. And those memories in his mind, though they appeared out of nowhere, entirely foreign and eerie, seemed to have no barrier with him, completely at his disposal. Ichio closed his eyes, and in his mind, that segment of voice resonated once more. The righteous Qi art is foundational. Only those imbued with unwavering righteousness may endlessly surpass themselves. Through the 5 arts of mountain, medicine, destiny, divination, and physiognomy, layer by layer of enlightenment emerges, each loftier than the last. He seemed to have fallen asleep, listening to the voice in his head, while the qi within his body continued to rise, circulating through his limbs and bones, an experience profoundly mystical. The night passed without incident. Knock, knock, knock. Early in the morning, urgent knocking sounded outside. Ichio opened his eyes, walked to the door, and opened it. There stood 2 uniformed men, their faces filled with urgency. Are you Ichio? I am. Ichio nodded. Save someone. The leader shouted anxiously. We're Captain Zhao's men. He suddenly fell ill in the early hours and collapsed unconscious. The hospital staff are at their wits' end. Before losing consciousness, he mentioned you. Please save our captain. They had found Ichio's contact details in Zhao Jinlin's clothes and rushed over immediately. Ichio hadn't expected Zhao Jinlin's old injury to flare up again so quickly. Evidently, yesterday's arrest operation, coupled with overnight interrogations, had weakened his body to the point where it could no longer suppress the injury. Wait here for a moment. Ichio turned and entered the house, waking Xiao Yuer before taking her along as they got in the car and left. He didn't feel safe leaving Xiao Yuer alone. The car raced through the streets at breakneck speed, speeding toward the hospital. Meanwhile, in the hospital emergency room, Zhao Jianlin lay motionless, his face deathly pale as the electrocardiogram steadily displayed weakening vital signs. Outside, think of something. A crowd had already gathered outside, all family members and colleagues of Zhao Jianlin. No one had expected such an incident to unfold that night. Don't panic, Elder Gao is already inside. He'll do everything he can. The hospital administrators could only offer such words of comfort. Zhao Jianlin was no ordinary man. He was the renowned captain of Tianhai City's investigative unit, and higher-ups were paying special attention. Early that morning, multiple calls had come in demanding that every effort be made to save him. Inside the emergency room, several doctors had exhausted every possible measure. Elder Gao, it's no use. A middle-aged doctor turned to look at Gao Qiao. Gao Qiao sighed and shook his head. They had done their best, but Zhao Jianlin's old injury had flared up, causing his vital energy to rapidly dissipate in a short time. If not for their perseverance, he would have died long ago. I warned him not to overexert himself, but when it came to work, he always pushed himself to the limit. Gao Qiao reflected with emotion. For such a man, he naturally felt deep respect and had done everything in his power, but fate was inexorable. Notify them, he said helplessly, watching the flat line on the electrocardiogram. Outside the door, upon hearing that Zhao Jianlin's resuscitation had failed, the crowd nearly went mad. No way. The captain can't be dead. Impossible. Please, save the captain. We're begging you. Save him. Save Brother Zhao. Several burly, battle-hardened men, their eyes red, were on the verge of tears. They couldn't accept this fact. Yi Qiu is here. At that very moment, two people hurried in with Yi Qiu in tow. Yi Qiu's come. Hurry. They turned to look and saw Yi Qiu walking in quickly with Xiao Yuer in his arms, staring at this plainly dressed man before them. They froze for a second. Was this really the guy Zhao Jianlin had jokingly said might save him if anything happened? The captain already. Someone choked out. Hearing this, Yi Qiu immediately set Xiao Yuer down. Let me take a look inside. Halt! He had just reached the emergency room entrance when someone blocked his way. Who are you? This is an emergency room. You can't just barge in here. Yi Qiu looked up at him and said, if I go in now, there's still a chance he'll live. If you keep blocking me, he will die for sure. Without waiting for the guard to react, Yi Qiu shoved him aside and pushed open the door to enter. The others stood there with bloodshot eyes, unsure what to do. If Zhao Jianlin hadn't vouched for Yi Qiu earlier, they would never have allowed him to act so recklessly. In the emergency room, Gao Qiao was about to leave when he saw a stranger rush in and walk directly to Zhao Jianlin. At first, he thought it might be one of Zhao's family members. But then, to his shock, Yi Qiu lifted the white sheet and began randomly pressing points on Zhao Jianlin's body. Enraged, Gao Qiao shouted, "What the hell are you doing?" This disrespectful act towards the deceased ignited his fury. He's already dead. How dare you? There's still hope for him, Yi Qiu replied without raising his head. Gao Qiao's rage boiled over. Was this questioning his medical judgment? As the leading expert at Tianhai First Hospital, when he declared someone beyond saving, how could Yi Qiu claim otherwise? What insolence was this? Get him out of here, Gao Qiao snapped, wasting no time with further argument. But just as he finished speaking, when several doctors were about to rush over to pull Yi Qiu, Gao Qiao suddenly screamed as if his tail had been stepped on. Don't move. None of you move. For a moment, the doctors didn't know what to do. They turned and saw Gao Qiao trembling all over, his eyes fixed on Yi Qiu's hand, his voice completely altered. Profound qi needles? This can't be possible. Chapter 5. Recruitment. He never expected to witness the legendary mystic qi needle technique here. Channeling sword energy to condense qi into needles. Gao Qiao's beard trembled uncontrollably with excitement. It's actually real. It truly. Quiet. Before he could finish, Yi Qing sharply rebuked, "Don't disturb me." Gao Qiao immediately sealed his lips, not daring to make another sound. The attending physicians stood frozen in astonishment. Gao Qiao was the prized treasure of the hospital, known for his eccentric temper. Even the hospital director wouldn't dare speak to him like this. Yet Yi Qi reprimanded him, and he didn't even get angry. Just who exactly was this Yi Qi? Yi Qi paid no mind to such thoughts. A glint flashed in his eyes as he focused intently on Zhao Jinlin's old wounds, spotting a mass of congealed blood that had completely clogged his heart meridian. Without hesitation, Yi Qi immediately channeled the energy within him, recalling the method from memory. In an instant, a stream of air trembled at his fingertips, taking the form of an ethereal needle. With a faint puff, it pierced straight into Zhao Jinlin's chest. Precision perfected. Gao Qiao inhaled sharply, suppressing the surge of excitement in his heart so as not to disturb the moment. Though 100 questions swirled in his mind, for now, he was utterly absorbed in witnessing Yi Qi's extraordinary medical mastery. Such mystical skills, to witness them in my lifetime, I could die without regret. Yi Qi's fingers trembled slightly as he cleared the congested meridians, and soon, strands of black energy seeped from the formation's core. Beep, beep. The ECG monitor emitted the sound of a heartbeat once more. He's alive! He's alive! Someone shouted. Yi Qi withdrew his fingers, watching as Zhao Jinlin's meridians reopened and his vital energy began to revive. Only then did he let out a sigh of relief. It was his first time doing such a thing. Even with his medical background, such precise operations could hardly be handled with such accuracy, even by surgeons with decades of experience. These eyes, they were truly miraculous. All right, you can handle the rest. Yi Qi turned to Gao Qiao before realizing his tone had been somewhat offensive earlier. He gave a slight bow and said, "The situation was urgent just now. I had no choice but to raise my voice at you, elder. Please forgive my rudeness." Far from being angry, Gao Qiao was the one who had almost interfered with Yi Qi's life-saving efforts. He never expected Yi Qi to apologize to him instead. "It's my fault. I almost affected you." He quickly admitted his mistake. "I should be the one apologizing to you." His eyes lit up as he stared at Yi Qi, as if seeing a rare treasure. "Young man, are you a doctor too?" "I used to be," Yi Qi said somewhat helplessly. "Used to be?" Gao Qiao was stunned, not expecting Yi Qi to not even have a license. The other doctors broke out in a cold sweat upon hearing this. If Zhao Jinlin hadn't been saved today, allowing someone without a medical license to perform the procedure would have been a major incident. But Gao Qiao waved his hand dismissively. "Your medical skills don't need those things to prove anything. Mastering the mysterious Xuanqi needle technique alone, there are only a handful of people in the entire world who can do this." Yi Qi forcefully dragged Zhao Jinlin back from death's door. "How could this possibly be questioned?" "Then where are you working now?" Gao Qiao asked, then immediately realized it was a foolish question. Since Yi Qi said he had no certification, surely no institution would dare hire him. "I haven't found a job yet," Yi Qi replied somewhat sheepishly. He had just been released from prison and was planning to look for work. After all, how else could he support himself and Yi Xiaoyu? "No need to look further," Gao Qiao said directly. "If you don't mind, come to our hospital. I formally invite you to join the specialist team at Tianhai First Hospital." Upon hearing this, everyone present was stunned. Who could have imagined that Gao Qiao would actually invite someone without a professional qualification certificate to work at Tianhai First Hospital, let alone invite them to join the expert team? Was this even a joke? Even Yi Qi was taken aback for a moment. But Gao Qiao understood perfectly well. Judging by Yi Qi's life-saving skills, just now, he was more than qualified. "Oh, I forgot to mention the salary. It's definitely higher than what's out there, I guarantee you." Gao Qiao couldn't care less. Witnessing Yi Qi's miraculous medical skills, he couldn't bear to let him go. "Name any other requests you have," he insisted. "We can discuss them slowly." He had decided this person was his for the taking. Wasn't this a heaven-sent opportunity, delivering someone proficient in mystical medicine right to his doorstep? Missing this chance would be a lifetime regret. "I'll think it over," Yi Qi replied without outright agreeing, though his interest was clearly piqued. "Good. If you have any questions, come to me anytime," Gao Qiao said. Yi Qi nodded and turned to leave. The events of today must not be disclosed to anyone. Is that clear? Gao Qiao immediately looked at several people and instructed, "Yes, Elder Gao." Everyone nodded, and only then did Gao Qiao excitedly leave, preparing to go straight to the hospital leadership to finalize the matter of recruiting Yi Qi as soon as possible. Outside the emergency room, everyone saw Yi Qiu come out and quickly gathered around him, their eyes filled with anticipation. Team leader Zhao is temporarily out of danger. Just let him rest well. Yi Qiu's words instantly put everyone's anxiously hanging hearts at ease. Several burly grown men nearly couldn't hold back their tears, repeatedly thanking Yi Qiu. This was their savior, the savior of them all. Daddy. Little Yuerer walked over, still somewhat drowsy, unaware that Yi Qiu had just saved Zhao Jinlin's life in that brief moment. Why are these uncles crying when they're so big? She whispered curiously. Yi Qiu quickly patted her head. Don't talk nonsense. He nodded apologetically to the crowd, but no one was angry. Salute. A group of people stood straight, looking at Yi Qiu with gratitude. Thank you, Dr. Yi. It had been a long time since anyone had called him doctor. The feeling of being respected was truly wonderful. Yi Qiu was somewhat moved, but said nothing. He instructed them to keep an eye on Zhao Jinlin's rest before leaving. He had just left when Zhao Jinlin was wheeled out, already awake. Upon learning it was Yi Qiu who had saved him, he couldn't help but marvel at his incredible luck. Had he not encountered Yi Qiu yesterday, he would have died. He's saved me twice now, Zhao Jinlin chuckled, looking at his red-eyed wife and family beside him, knowing full well the immense depth of this debt. Meanwhile, First Hospital, the dean's office. I won't take no for an answer. This person is mine. Gao Qiao slammed the table. His medical skills? I can vouch for them myself. What does he have for certificates? Besides, certificates can be retaken. What's the problem? Teacher Gao. The dean never expected Gao Qiao to suddenly show up, adamant about admitting someone without certification into the hospital. This went against regulations. But our hospital's policies. I know the policies. Heck, I drafted them myself. Do you think I don't know? Gao Qiao glared. Why didn't you worry about policies when you were calling me teacher? With that one sentence, the dean lost all his bluster. Thirsting for talent, without sticking to outdated norms, understand? If not, I'll teach you a lesson today. Gao Qiao pointed at the dean without a shred of politeness. Let me tell you, he said, if you want to elevate the hospital's overall standards, you need a true miracle doctor like this. Do you believe that one day Yi Qiu will make you glad you ever knew him? Chapter 6. Deliberate provocation. The dean didn't dare say no. Even though he was the director of this hospital, Elder Gao was not only his teacher, but also the former director. He had gone to great lengths to rehire Gao Qiao to oversee the hospital. And on top of that, Gao Qiao had never been one to pull strings. Is this Yi Qiu really that remarkable? His medical skills. Gao Qiao narrowed his eyes, reminiscing about the scene where Yi Qiu saved a life with his ethereal acupuncture needles. It was nothing short of an art. Absolutely unfathomable. With such an endorsement from him, how could the hospital director dare to object? He immediately agreed without hesitation. He might not trust himself, or even other claims Gao Qiao made, but when it came to medical expertise, Gao Qiao was the undisputed authority in the hospital. If he said Yi Qiu was capable, then there was no doubt about it. Having secured this exceptional admission spot, Gao Qiao had no interest in wasting words with the dean. He immediately contacted Yi Qiu and repeatedly invited him to join the hospital. Only when Yi Qiu agreed did Gao Qiao finally breathe a sigh of relief. He knew that not many people were aware of Yi Qiu's skills yet, but once his medical expertise became widely known, countless hospitals would be vying for him. In this regard, he had gotten ahead of the competition. Putting down the phone, Yi Qiu took a deep breath. He had a job again, and not just any job. It was upon the invitation of a prestigious expert like Gao Qiao, offering him a position in one of Tianhai City's top 3 Class A hospitals. This place was countless times better than the hospital where I did my internship 4 years ago. Dad! Yi Xiaoyu looked up at Yi Qiu and saw his eyes were slightly red. That's fine. He pinched Yi Xiaoyu's little cheek. Come on, let's go home. They were about to start a new life together, one that would surely be better than the past. At the same time, the news spread quickly at Tianhai First Hospital. Did you hear? The hospital made an exceptional hire. Someone directly admitted to the expert panel, and rumor has it they don't even have a medical license. Impossible. We're a top-tier hospital with strict standards. You can't even get in here without a master's degree. Absolutely true. They pulled strings through old Gao. Shoo. Keep your voice down. In the office, several doctors were quietly discussing something, but immediately fell silent when someone entered. What's everyone chatting about? Such a lively conversation. A middle-aged man walked in, holding a teacup, and said with a smile, "Share it with me, so I can join in the fun." "Oh, nothing, Director Luo. We were just joking around," one of the doctors replied with a chuckle. "Really?" Luo Ping glanced at him and walked over directly, his expression half amused. "I could have sworn I heard something about an expert panel." Seeing that he couldn't hide the truth, the doctor reluctantly confessed. The hospital just hired a new specialist, rumored to not even have a practicing license. Upon hearing this, Luo Ping's face immediately darkened. He was the department director and had been eyeing a spot in the hospital's expert panel for ages. Despite his long efforts, he still hadn't passed the evaluation to join the panel. So why could this newcomer, lacking even a practicing license, get in? "Seems like someone pulled strings with Director Gao to get him in," the doctor added, suddenly realizing he'd said too much. He hastily rose, pretending to fetch water, and quickly made his exit. The others lowered their heads, not daring to meet Luo Ping's gaze. They all understood what joining the expert panel meant to him. Anyone who learned of such a situation would find it hard to bear. Luo Ping's face was like a thundercloud, so dark it seemed water could drip from it. The hand clutching the water cup bulged with veins. Why? Just why? Just because of Gao Xiao's connections. Someone without even a professional certification could get into First Hospital and even join the expert team directly. After all his hard work and struggle, what he couldn't obtain was handed to someone else so easily. It was nothing short of a crushing blow. A talented individual. I wonder who this so-called talent is. I really ought to meet them. Luo Ping smiled with no trace of warmth, muttered something to himself, then turned and walked out. The office remained so quiet you could hear a pin drop, the oppressive atmosphere almost suffocating. The next day, Yi Qiu came to report. He had barely entered the HR department when Luo Ping, upon hearing the news, showed up. "So you're Yi Qiu?" Luo Ping gave Yi Qiu a thorough once-over, his gaze unfriendly. He couldn't accept that someone so young could possibly be more capable than himself. What qualifications does he have to join the expert panel? He doesn't even deserve to be in this hospital. "I do." Yi Qiu glanced at Luo Ping, not recognizing the man before him. "May I ask who you are?" "I'm Luo Ping, head of the surgery department at First Hospital." Luo Ping tilted his head slightly upward, yet his gaze looked down at Yi Qiu as he said, "Complete the formalities, then you can come to my department first to get acclimated." Gao Xiao hadn't assigned Yi Qiu to any specific department yet. He hadn't even had the chance to ask which one Yi Qiu preferred. Yi Qiu didn't ask further questions. If someone had come to request him, it was probably arranged by Gao Xiao. He nodded, finished the paperwork, and followed Luo Ping. Throughout the walk, Luo Ping remained silent, appearing unwilling to engage with Yi Qiu. Upon entering the office, Luo Ping pointed to a seat in the corner. "You sit there." Yi Qiu glanced at the dust-covered desk, but said nothing, simply nodding as he walked over. "By the way, if old Gao hasn't arranged your duties yet, you'll temporarily serve as the on-call attending physician tonight," Luo Ping said without the slightest courtesy. Hearing this, Yi Qiu frowned slightly. Being the on-call physician meant he couldn't go home at night, and he wasn't comfortable leaving Yi Xiaoyu alone at home. "Director Luo, could I possibly know?" The compass didn't even give Yi Qiu a chance to finish speaking, smiling as he said, "Yi Qiu, you're new to the hospital and don't know the rules here. All new doctors need to serve as on-duty caregivers. Young people, after all, must toughen up." Seeing the hint of unwillingness in Yi Qiu's eyes, Luo Ping felt quite pleased. At any rate, he was just following the rules. Even if Gao Xiao asked about it, he could justify his actions. Yi Qiu couldn't accept this. "Director Luo, when Elder Gao sent me here, he said I could." "Elder Gao?" Luo Ping shook his head, never expecting Yi Qiu to be so foolish as to openly admit he got in through Gao Xiao's connections. Didn't he know such matters should be kept discreet? If Director Gao has any new arrangements, you can adjust accordingly later. For now, just follow my instructions. No problem, right? His approach was watertight, leaving Yi Qiu no room for rebuttal. Even knowing Luo Ping was deliberately making things difficult for him, Yi Qiu couldn't say anything, because he truly needed this job to support himself and Xiao Yuer. Seeing Yi Qiu silenced, Luo Ping nodded in satisfaction. Just as he turned to leave, a nurse rushed in frantically. "Director Luo, there's an emergency patient. It's critical. What's the panic for?" Luo Ping frowned. "Is there no one in the ER? It's just another emergency resuscitation. Something that happens every day in the hospital. What's there to be nervous about?" "That they specifically requested you, Chief, to handle the resuscitation." Chapter 7, A Favor Owed, requested me. Luo Ping's expression changed slightly, realizing this couldn't be an ordinary patient. Who else would have the audacity to directly demand his presence for the resuscitation? Without further delay, he immediately followed the nurse. After a few steps, he suddenly stopped and turned to glance at Yi Qiu. "If you've got nothing better to do, go wait in the emergency room. You can at least help with minor tasks." He couldn't bear to see Yi Qiu idle for even a second. Without a word, Yi Qiu simply tidied up the desk and headed toward the emergency room. By now, the corridor outside the emergency room was already dyed red with blood. "Save him! Quick, save him! Where's Director Luo? Why hasn't he come yet? Get him here to save my son now." A middle-aged man roared loudly, demanding that the best chief surgeon of First Hospital come immediately to save his son. Luo Ping, who rushed over upon hearing the commotion, recognized the middle-aged man at a glance and hurried forward, saying, "President Chu, it's you." The middle-aged man before him was none other than a prominent and influential tycoon from Tianhai. "No time for words. Save him." Chu Tiangang, too frantic to speak, pointed at the blood-soaked young man on the ambulance gurney, his eyes reddened with urgency. "Save him. Prep for emergency treatment," Luo Ping shouted. He immediately directed the medical team to wheel the wounded man into the emergency room and began the rescue operation. The young man on the resuscitation table had already lost consciousness, his entire body soaked in blood. From the looks of it, he'd been in a terrible car accident. Even the white of his bones was visible. Luo Ping felt somewhat uncertain. Usually, injuries this severe made resuscitation extremely difficult. But this man is Chu Tiangong's son. Hemostatic forceps quickly. Luo Ping's forehead was drenched in sweat, but no matter how hard he tried, the bleeding from the wounded man wouldn't stop. Seeing the blood pressure continuously drop, his panic deepened. If this young man dies, he'd be in big trouble. Outside the emergency room, Chu Tiangang, dressed in expensive formal where he'd long stopped caring about, sat on a plastic chair looking terrifyingly grim. The woman beside him had long since cried her eyes red, silently covering her face. "Stop crying. Quit your wailing. This is all your pampering's fault." Chu Tiangang suddenly turned his head and snapped angrily, "I told you not to let him drive, but you insisted on buying him a car, and now look what happened." "Whoa." The woman only sobbed, her face full of regret, yet utterly unable to speak. Chu Tiangong's eyes also reddened. This was the precious son he had in his later years, and he had doted on him endlessly. Who could have imagined such a thing would happen? He couldn't accept losing his only son. The lights in the emergency room suddenly went out. Chu Tiangang quickly looked up upon hearing the door open and rushed forward. "How's my son? How is he?" "Mr. Chu," Luo Ping said with a grave expression, shaking his head, "please accept our condolences. We've done everything we could." Boom! His words struck Chu Tiangang and his wife like a thunderbolt, nearly knocking them unconscious. "What did you say?" Chu Tiangang stared at Luo Ping with eyes that seemed about to devour him, instantly grabbing Luo Ping by the collar. "Say that again." Luo Ping struggled. "President Chu, please calm down. Your son is severely injured and has lost too much blood. We've already—" "Shut up." Chu Tian roared with fury. "This is the finest hospital in Tianhai, and you're the best surgeon here. How dare you say you can't save him? Then who else can save them? You must save him." He seemed to have lost his mind, his voice trembling with a hint of tears. Luo Ping didn't dare respond. Even if he were an immortal golden deity, he couldn't possibly save Chu Tiangong's son today. As Chu Tiangang gradually calmed down, Luo Ping quietly let out a sigh of relief. As long as Chu Tiangang accepted this outcome himself, then everything would be fine. They did their best in this situation, No one can guarantee they could definitely save a life. I can save him. Suddenly, a voice sounded beside them. Hearing this, everyone turned to look. It was Yi Qiu. He stood there, his piercing gaze fixed on the emergency room door, as if his sharp eyes could see the patient's condition through it. There's still hope. What nonsense are you spouting? Luo Ping snapped. Chu Tiangang had already accepted the outcome. What was Yi Qiu stirring up trouble for? If Chu Tiangang were given hope only to have it dashed again, he would surely fly into a thunderous rage. How could their hospital afford to offend such a powerful figure? Shut up. You shut your mouth. Luo Ping rushed forward, trying to shoo Yi Qiu away. Did this ignorant rookie, barely one day at the hospital, intend to ruin him? You're the one who should shut up. Chu Tiangang wasn't an ordinary man. His temperament remained steady despite the storm. He shot Luo Ping a glare before turning to scrutinize Yi Qiu with eyes like an enraged lion's. You're saying you can save my son? Yes, there's still hope. Yi Qiu nodded, sparing Luo Ping a glance. The patient hasn't given up. How can a doctor be the first to surrender? After speaking, he walked straight into the emergency room. Luo Ping wanted to stop him but didn't dare, gritting his teeth in fury. He wished he could rush forward and punch Yi Qiu. This bastard would not only get himself killed, but also drag the entire hospital down with him. Yi Qiu paid no mind to the commotion. As he entered the emergency room, it was now completely empty. He stepped forward and looked at the bloodied young man. Stretching out a hand, he gently placed it over the wounds. A surge of energy immediately flowed out, enveloping the broken bones, using that mystical warmth from within his body to reconnect them with meticulous precision. Minutes ticked by as Yi Qiu's movements grew faster and smoother. These two attempts had honed his control over the energy within him, making his technique increasingly adept. The broken bones had been set, and the wounds were sutured with mystic energy needles. Finally, Yi Qiu placed his palm on the young man's chest and concentrated his will. Thump! As if struck by lightning, his heart suddenly jolted to life. Thump! Thump! The heartbeat was restored. Without panic, Yi Qiu picked up the blood bag prepared in advance and carefully began transfusing the young man. Outside the emergency room, Chu Tiangang paced back and forth anxiously, his hair disheveled from distress. Luo Ping wanted several times to rush in and pull Yi Qiu out to stop him from messing around inside, but he never dared. Creak! The door of the emergency room opened and Yi Qiu walked in. Chu Tiangang and the others immediately gathered around him. The patient's vital signs are stable now, with normalized blood pressure. The external injuries will take some time to heal, but please rest assured. Hearing these words, the woman could no longer hold back and instantly burst into loud sobs. Chu Tian just trembled his lips, thinking he must have misheard. My son is alive? Yeah, he'll recover soon enough, bouncing around in front of you in no time, Yi Qiu said with a smile. Chu Tiangang felt as though a heavy stone had been lifted from his heart, and he grasped Yi Qiu's hand repeatedly in relief. Thank you. Thank you. You're a miracle worker. A true miracle worker, he exclaimed repeatedly. Today, my Chu family owes you an enormous debt of gratitude. The expressions of those present changed instantly. This was a favor from the Chu family. Luo Ping, in particular, was green with envy. Such a golden opportunity had been right in front of him, yet Yi Qiu snatched it away. He shot Yi Qiu a vicious glare, his resentment growing deeper. You flatter me, Chairman Chu. To everyone's surprise, Yi Qiu merely replied, saving lives is simply my duty. It's nothing extraordinary. Chapter 8. Unforgettable Old Feelings? Compared to Luo Ping, Yi Qiu's words made Luo Ping lose completely. Even the favor of such a big shot like Chu Tiangang. Yet Yi Qiu didn't want it. Everyone glanced at Yi Qiu, their eyes filled with admiration. Looking back at Luo Ping, who claimed to be the #1 chief surgeon, yet so easily gave up on life, they couldn't help but flash a hint of disdain. Well said, truly well said, Chu Tiangang said gratefully. But our Chu family has never liked owing others. No matter when, if you ever need anything, come to me anytime. With those words, he was about to go in to see his son. Mr. Chu, Yi Qiu called out to him again, staring at his forehead with a slight frown. If there's nothing urgent, You'd better not go out these days." Upon hearing this, Chu Tiangang was momentarily stunned, unsure what Yi Qiu meant by this remark. Anxious to see his son, he didn't have time to inquire further and simply nodded. "All right, thank you for the reminder, Dr. Yi." Yi Qiu said nothing more, turning back to his office to continue packing. Watching Yi Qiu's retreating figure, Luo Ping's eyes were filled with venom. Especially when noticing the looks in other doctors' eyes. By comparison, Yi Qiu seemed like the most skilled physician in the department, even capable of bringing the dead back to life. So what did that make him? Luo Ping suddenly felt a pang of regret. If he hadn't called Yi Qiu over, this wouldn't have happened, and Yi Qiu wouldn't have had the chance to show off. The more he dwelled on it, the more indignant he became. Just then his phone rang. Glancing at the number, he was surprised to see it was someone he knew. Luo Ping answered. "Master Sun, what's up?" Luo Ping's tone was indifferent. "Looking for someone? Who?" "Yi Qiu." "You know Yi Qiu?" Hearing Sun Long ask about Yi Qiu, Luo Ping's eyes instantly lit up. He glanced around before covering the phone and moving to a corner. "Our son Xiao and Yi Qiu friends." "What kind of friends?" On the phone, old Sun sneered. "I just heard that Yi Qiu has started working at your hospital. I specifically came to remind you, this kid has a record, and his certification has been revoked. Are you really daring enough to hire someone like that for a prestigious hospital like yours?" Hearing this, Luo Ping was even more stunned. He had assumed Yi Qiu simply lacked the necessary qualifications, which could be obtained later, but he never expected Yi Qiu to have a criminal record too. How could such a person possibly enter the hospital? There must be something wrong here. Maybe even Gao Qiao was deceived. "I understand what Mr. Sun means." Luo Ping hung up without saying more. "Fine, Yi Qiu. You've hidden so much, having served prison time, perhaps even been involved in killings. You're not qualified to be a doctor, even less qualified to join the expert panel of First Hospital." Luo Ping snorted and immediately returned to his office, preparing to report Yi Qiu directly to the supervisory authorities. On the other end of the phone, Sun Long took some grim pleasure in the situation. He couldn't bear to see Yi Qiu have even a shred of good fortune, whether it was finding a job or anything else. It would be best if he lived in poverty for the rest of his life, slowly descending into despair. Young Master Sun, why bother holding a grudge against such a worthless person? Li Hongmei couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt and tried to dissuade him. "He has nothing to do with us now. Just let him be." "Let him be?" Sun Long sneered. "What? Are you still nostalgic for the past?" Li Hongmei's expression changed as she hurried to explain. "No, I just feel he doesn't deserve to be your target." "Oomph." Sun Long wouldn't listen. "When he hit me all those years ago, he should have known this day would come. I swore I'd never let him off easy. I'll make him regret messing with me. I'll make him watch as I take everything away from him, piece by piece." A flash of madness flickered in his eyes as he abruptly pulled Li Hongmei close, ignoring her struggles, and forced her head down. "This is just the beginning." Yi Qiu went home first. He had to cook for Xiao Yuer. If it really wasn't possible, he'd have to consider bringing Xiao Yuer along for the night shift. At home, Xiao Yuer was being very good, having tidied up the house spotlessly. Even though Yi Qiu had said he'd take care of the cleaning from now on, Xiao Yuer still wanted to make a good impression. Perhaps Mama would come back? After dinner, Daddy has to go to work. "Do you want to come with me?" Yi Qiu asked. There was a folding bed in the hospital duty room. Xiao Yuer would just have to make do temporarily. Little Yuer nodded. "Wherever Daddy goes, little Yuer will follow." Yi Qiu smiled and reached out to pat little Yuer's head, then placed a fried egg in her bowl. "Be good and eat up." Just as the two were having their meal, sudden pounding noises erupted from outside. Bang, bang, bang. Yi Qiu's expression darkened. Before he could even stand up, the door was kicked open violently, and 5 or 6 ruffians swaggered in, wielding clubs in their hands. "Who are you?" Yi Qiu immediately stood up, shielding Yi Xiaoyu behind him, and shouted sternly. "Who are you?" The leader sneered. "Who we are is none of your concern. I'm here to inform you. You've been marked by us. Peace is over for you." He pointed his bat at Yi Qiu and smirked. "Behave yourself. I'll break 1 leg each for you and your daughter, and we'll call it even. Kid, remember this. Some people are not to be trifled with." "Understood." Yi Qiu had no idea when he'd provoked these people. A thought struck him. Was Sun Long behind this? That damn bastard. Get them. Before Yi Qiu could react, 5 or 6 men charged forward, swinging clubs, even targeting little Yi Xiaoyu. Furious, Yi Qiu shielded Xiaoyu behind him, his eyes blazing with rage. He reached out and directly caught a wooden club that was violently swung at him. With a sudden exertion of his arm, the club was crushed in his grip. The approaching thug was stunned. What kind of finger strength was this? How terrifying! Without giving him time to react, Yi Qiu let out a low roar and delivered a powerful punch. Bam! The thug was sent flying, tumbling several times on the ground, howling in pain with who knows how many broken bones. The others were completely stunned, never expecting Yi Qiu to be this formidable, but they had come to cause trouble and even dare to harm Yi Xiaoyu. How could Yi Qiu possibly let them off? His daughter was his reverse scale, his everything. No one touches her. Bang! 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 Like a man possessed, Yi Qiu charged forward. In the blink of an eye, all 5 or 6 men were lying knocked out on the ground, their earlier arrogance nowhere to be seen. They curled up on the ground, wailing in agony, their bodies convulsing. Whoever dares harm my daughter will pay for it. Yi Qiu roared like a furious lion, making the half-dozen thugs tremble uncontrollably. They had no earthly idea Yi Qiu was this formidable. Had they known, no amount of money, whether mere thousands or even hundreds of thousands, would have convinced them to come. API error. Error code 429. Error. Message. You exceeded your current quota. Please check your plan and billing details. For more information on this error, head to https:// asterisk 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 / asterisk 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 request ID 20250903202429798556578 HHW4ZIN2. Type OpenAI_ Perm code 429. API error. Error code 429. Error. Message. You exceeded your current quota. Please check your plan and billing details. For more information on this error, head to https:// asterisk 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 request ID 20250903202548031685220ZF0XWX3T. Type OpenAI_ Perm code 429. Chapter 9. The invitation. He returned those exact same words. Chapter 9. The invitation. Right back at them. API error. Error code 429. Error. Message. You exceeded your current quota. Please check your plan and billing details. For more information on this error, head to https:// asterisk 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 request ID 20250903202620164308477 P6 and F9ZYK. Type OpenAI_ Perm code 429. Soon, the neighbors heard the commotion and promptly called the police. Before long, the sound of sirens could be heard. The person who got out of the car, seeing it was Yi Qiu's house, quickly walked inside, frowning at the sight of 5 or 6 people lying on the ground. They were all Zhao Jinling's colleagues. Some of them had even been present that day and witnessed Yi Qiu saving Zhao Jinling's life, making him a great benefactor to their entire department. They all owed Yi Qiu a debt of gratitude. What happened? The person in charge urgently asked. I don't know. These people suddenly charged into my home, threatening to break my daughter's legs and mine. Yi Qiu shook his head and gradually calmed down. I had no choice but to injure them. The person in charge glanced around. 5 or 6 men, nearly all with broken limbs and likely several fractured ribs. Who would have thought Yi Qiu was not only exceptionally skilled in medicine, but also so formidable in combat? Well, we just had neighbors confirm they were the ones breaking down the door, trespassing, and attempting to harm you. This counts as self-defense, so don't worry too much. The person in charge nodded and had those troublemakers taken away. These guys are local hoodlums. You should be extra careful. After giving a few more warnings, they left. Yichio turned to see little fish looking utterly terrified and quickly scooped her up, gently patting her back. Don't be scared. Daddy's here. No one can hurt you. Little fish buried her face in Yichio's arms and whispered, Little fish isn't scared. Daddy, you're so cool. As she spoke, she even started waving her tiny fists as if mimicking how Yichio had just dealt with those bad guys. Haha, Dad is so amazing. Her eyes brimmed with pride. Seeing that Yi Xiaoyu wasn't frightened, Yichio finally let out a sigh of relief. He never expected he'd become so extraordinary. Not only had his mind acquired those mysterious medical skills, but even his physical abilities had grown remarkably strong. Daddy will teach you later, okay? Yes. Yichio soothed Xiaoyu with a few words and urged her to keep eating. There was no way he could go on duty tonight either. He called the office to ask for leave, fixed the kicked-in door, and coaxed Xiaoyu to sleep. Early the next morning, Zhao Jianlin arrived. He's recovering well. Though his complexion isn't the best yet, he's naturally strong and was treated by Yichio personally, so the results have been excellent. He brought many gifts for Xiao Yuer. Thank you, Uncle Zhao. Yi Xiaoyu was overjoyed. Since childhood, she'd barely had any toys. No need to thank me. Zhao Jianlin smiled and said, Go play. Then he approached Yichio. Is little fish already 5 years old? Yichio nodded. Then why isn't she attending kindergarten? At this age, Yi Xiaoyu should be in kindergarten. That way Yichio could have some peace of mind instead of having to take her with him every day. Her mother was taking care of her before. I don't know what she was thinking. Yichio shook his head, his annoyance rising at the thought of Li Hongmei. No matter how much Li Hongmei hurt him, he wouldn't say a word, but treating Yi Xiaoyu like this was something he couldn't accept. All right then, I have a friend who's the principal of a kindergarten. It's just a matter of giving her a heads up. Zhao Jianlin said, A colleague told me about yesterday's incident. It seems you might have gotten on someone's bad side. You need to work, and Xiaoyu needs to receive an education. You can't handle everything alone. Having been saved by Yichio twice, he would naturally spare no effort to help Yichio and his daughter. All right, then I'll trouble you with this. Let's skip the pleasantries between us. Zhao Jianlin smiled wryly. His life had been saved by Yichio, and when it came to debts of gratitude, he could never repay this one in his lifetime. He left a phone number for Yichio, telling him to go directly to the kindergarten's principal if needed, and to feel free to call anytime he had any issues. After seeing Zhao Jianlin off, Yichio returned to the house, where Yi Xiaoyu was playing with a doll in her arms. Little Yuer, would you like to go to kindergarten? At the mention of kindergarten, Yi Xiaoyu immediately nodded, her eyes lighting up. Every time she passed by the kindergarten, seeing other children playing together so joyfully, she felt deeply envious, yet she never had the chance to step inside. Yes. Yi Xiaoyu let go of her doll and wrapped her arms around Yichio's neck. Daddy, can I really go to kindergarten? Of course. Uncle Zhao helped find a kindergarten for you. Shall we go register this afternoon? Yay! Yi Xiaoyu cheered, bouncing around happily like a little elf. After lunch, Yi Xiaoyu was too excited to nap. When it was time to go to work, she urged Yichio to take her to registration right away. The kindergarten introduced by Zhao Jianlin looked quite impressive, spacious, and with decor that clearly showed it wasn't an ordinary preschool. Yichio contacted the principal, who, upon learning they were referred by Zhao Jianlin, simply told Yichio to come register and inform the teacher. Cars were parked on both sides of the entrance, nearly all of them expensive luxury vehicles. Someone like Yichio, walking on foot and dressed plainly, simply couldn't be seen here. The kindergarten gate hadn't opened yet, as it wasn't time. Several well-dressed parents frowned when they saw Yichio leading Yi Xiaoyu toward them. Are you here for this kindergarten too? A man in a suit suddenly asked. Yes, Yichio nodded. Right? This is a high-end kindergarten. The best in the area. Are you sure you're in the right place? The man chuckled. This kindergarten wasn't open to the general public at all. Yichio must have come to the wrong place. Yichio glanced at him, but ignored him, which only made the man feel even more embarrassed. Who dared to overlook him like this on a normal day? Hey, I'm talking to you. Did you hear me? Are you trying to sneak in? The man's tone suddenly turned serious, feeling like he'd guessed right. Seeing the teacher coming out, he immediately said, Teacher, You must check carefully to prevent anyone with ulterior motives from getting in. The children here are the treasures of every family. Hearing this, several other parents grew wary too, instinctively pulling their children behind them. I just arrived today to check in. Ichio didn't want trouble and frowned slightly. He never expected to encounter such snobbish people when reporting to the kindergarten. As he saw the teacher approaching and prepared to explain, the man in the suit immediately blocked his way. "I warn you," the man shouted. "Don't try to take advantage of the chaos. This isn't a place for ordinary people like you." He turned to the teacher. "If we let the child of someone like that into the kindergarten, wouldn't we lose face?" They refused to accept it. Why should their children share a kindergarten with kids from such common families? If the kindergarten accepts his child, then I'll have no choice but to file a complaint with your board of directors. The man threatened directly. The teacher immediately looked troubled, but before she could speak, a car horn sounded. Everyone turned to look as a Rolls-Royce slowly approached. The car stopped, the door opened, and the driver strode quickly over, coming directly before Ichio. "Mr. Yi, our family head requests your presence." Chapter 10. Crossing the Wrong Person. Chapter 10. Crossing the Wrong Person. In an instant, everyone fell silent, especially the suited man who had just confronted Ichio. Seeing the license plate number on the Rolls-Royce, his entire body trembled as if struck by lightning, instantly paralyzed. That was Chu Tiangong's car, the renowned business mogul of Tianhai, Chu Tiangang. Their own boss had waited half a year in line just to catch a glimpse of Chu Tiangang. Yet here, Chu Tiangong's car had come to pick up Ichio. The other parents, who had joined in the ridicule moments ago, now stood silent, their faces filled with regret and dread, terrified that Ichio might hold them accountable. Someone whom Chu Tiangang would send a dedicated car to fetch. Who would these guys dare to offend? The air was dead silent, yet Ichio paid it no mind at all. "Your family's head? Mr. Chu Tiangang, that is," the driver explained. "Don't you remember? At the hospital last time?" "Oh, right. What does he want with me?" Ichio recalled. It was him after all. "Our family head has some matters and would like to invite Mr. Yi to visit our home. Since he can't come out himself, he specially sent me to pick you up. I went to your neighborhood earlier, and your neighbor said you were here, so I rushed over immediately. Is Mr. Yi available now?" Even an ordinary boss would treat Chu Tiangong's driver politely, yet here he was showing exceptional respect towards Ichio. Ichio remembered he had warned Chu Tiangang not to go out casually these days. Apparently, the man hadn't listened to him. "Wait a moment, I need to complete my daughter's hospital admission procedures first." He walked up to the teacher and said, "Hello, teacher. I've already spoken with the principal. She said I can just explain things directly to you." "Oh, so you're Mr. Yi," the teacher replied. "The principal already mentioned you. Don't worry. You can leave your child with me." The teacher quickly responded. The other parents were stunned. Direct instructions from the principal? Good heavens, just what kind of background does this guy have? "Little fish, be good and listen to your teacher. Daddy will come pick you up once I'm done." Yi Xiaoyu nodded and tightened the little backpack she bought on the way. "I'll definitely listen to the teacher." Ichio handed Xiaoyu over to the teacher, then got into the car and drove away. At the kindergarten entrance, the expressions on parents' faces had subtly shifted. The man in the suit immediately left after dropping off his child, not daring to linger even a moment longer. He feared Ichio might remember him and come back for revenge. Then he'd truly be finished. The Chu family. The sprawling estate was one of the few of its kind in all of Tianhai. Chu Tiangang was a renowned wealthy merchant in Tianhai, with investments spanning real estate, finance, transportation, and more industries. He was an extremely influential figure in the upper echelon of society. Ichio glanced around. The exquisite interior decoration was almost like a royal palace. "Mr. Yi, please wait a moment. Our family head will be out shortly." In just a moment, Chu Tian had emerged, his forehead still wrapped in a bandage, looking rather disheveled. "Brother Yi." The moment Chu Tiangang saw Ichio, it was as if he'd grabbed a lifeline. He hurriedly called out, "You're finally here. You gotta save me." "Patriarch Chu, you didn't listen to my advice and went out, didn't you?" Ichio could tell at a glance. Chu Tiangang sighed and nodded in admission. He hadn't taken Ichio's words seriously at the time, never imagining that his carelessness would almost cost him his life. His son's return from the dead was joyous occasion, and Chu Tiangang wanted to host a banquet to ward off bad luck. But the moment he stepped out, a flower pot fell from above, nearly splitting his skull open. I almost got hit by an out-of-control car again. I even nearly choked to death while drinking water. How could he dare not believe now? Brother Yi, you gotta save me. Chu Tiangang pleaded. I've never been this unlucky in my whole life. You're an expert. You must know how to fix this, right? If Yi Qiu could foresee this, he certainly had a solution. Before Yi Qiu could respond, a middle-aged woman couldn't hold back. Family head, don't be so quick to trust strangers. He's so young. What if he's just a scammer? They had never seen such a young charlatan like Yi Qiu. What else could he be but a fraud? Shut your mouth. Chu Tiangang snapped sharply. What do you know? Get out, household head. The woman hesitated, not daring to speak further. After decades of weathering life's storms, the more he'd witnessed, the more he believed in such things. Besides, Yi Qiu was a doctor who had saved his son. He'd seen it with his own eyes. How could it be fake? Brother Yi, pay her no mind. What does a woman know? Chu Tiangang held his head, looking anxious. Tell me, what should I do now? Yi Qiu paid no attention to other skepticism. Had it been before, he wouldn't have believed it himself. But now, with the newly acquired righteousness mantra in his mind, he had mastered the profound art of metaphysics. Medicine, fate, physiognomy, and divination, all under his control. Reading Chu Tiangang's facial features, there was indeed a shadow over his glabella, a clear sign of impending misfortune. You've always had smooth sailing, seizing others' luck. Now you've offended petty people, and they're plotting against you. Yi Qiu asked, Master Chu, have you recently had any conflicts with others in business? Hearing this, Chu Tiangang froze in shock. How could Yi Qiu have calculated even this? Yes, he replied, his face full of astonishment. He quickly replied, I just landed a major project recently. The competition was fierce, but I still managed to secure it. That guy swore he'd make me pay. Is he the one behind this? In that case, I absolutely cannot let him go. Master Chu, a person's fortune requires some balance. Being too smooth isn't necessarily a good thing. Yi Qiu pondered for a moment, letting go appropriately and being content with what one has may yield unexpected rewards. What should I do then? Chu Tiangang asked. Abandon this project, Yi Qiu replied without hesitation. Abandon this project? That's a huge piece of land. Just by developing it, we could make at least 10 billion. He spent a fortune to acquire it, and now Yi Qiu wants him to give it up? Family head, you see he's just talking nonsense, maybe even sent by our rivals. He actually wants us to abandon it. The woman seized the moment to stir up trouble. Chu Tiangang frowned slightly. He certainly believed in Yi Qiu, but to abandon such a major project based solely on Yi Qiu's words would be far too reckless, especially since the losses he'd incur wouldn't be insignificant. He hesitated. Have you been to that place? There's a small grove there, Yi Qiu suddenly asked. Hearing this, Chu Tiangang trembled slightly and nodded lightly. There is absolutely no way Yi Qiu could have visited that place, let alone known about the small grove there. It was simply uncanny. If so, then there's no mistake, Yi Qiu said. This is just my suggestion. The final decision rests with you, Patriarch Chu. Chu Tiangang's mind went completely blank. He had never encountered someone so formidable, someone who could calculate everything with such precision. But if he were to back out now, the losses would be far from trivial. And yet, what if Yi Qiu was telling the truth? Compared to that money, his own life was undoubtedly more important. Before he could speak, his phone suddenly rang. It was the project manager calling. As Chu Tiangang picked up the call and listened, his expression instantly changed. The look he gave Yi Qiu was one of sheer disbelief. Chapter 11. Danger ahead. All right, I understand. Don't touch that project for now. Chu Tian just hung up the phone and took a deep breath. He didn't even know how to put it into words. Despite having weathered countless storms, he never could have imagined that someone as young as Yi Qiu could be this formidable. Brother Yi, I'm convinced, Chu Tiangang exclaimed, truly and thoroughly convinced. Just now my subordinate called me. They said bones were found at the scene, and the police have gone to investigate. It's the primary crime scene. This sounds quite eerie because in that small grove Yi Qiu mentioned, when I went to inspect it that day, just one glance sent chills down my spine. Little did I expect to almost lose my life because of it. Master Chu, as long as you've thought it through clearly. I'll listen to Brother Yi. Money is merely worldly possessions. How could it compare to one's life? I'll hand this project over to our competitors. It'll give me a chance to rest as well. The Chu family had long been beyond financial need. They had no reason to risk their lives for money. Chu Tiangang was rational enough to understand that. Yi Qiu nodded. All right then, let me tend to your wound. It'll speed up the recovery. I appreciate your help, Brother Yi. After Yi Qiu dressed Chu Tiangang's wound, he prepared to leave. At the same time, a Mercedes-Benz pulled up outside the kindergarten. Sun Long fixed his malicious gaze on Yi Xiaoyu playing in the courtyard. He never expected that Yi Qiu could actually send his daughter to such a prestigious kindergarten. How was that fair? How could he possibly be living so well? Unacceptable. Sitting in the passenger seat, Li Hongmei felt complicated emotions. This was the first time she'd seen Yi Xiaoyu laughing so freely, so joyfully. Missing your daughter? Sun Long glanced at her, and Li Hongmei quickly shook her head. It's all right. She's your daughter. It's only natural for you to miss her, he said calmly. I knew you missed her, so I brought you here to see her. Thank you, Li Hongmei said softly. She looked at her daughter and pressed her lips together, wondering in her heart if her decision was wrong. Although Yi Qiu wasn't doing well in life and now had a record, he always valued himself. If he hadn't protected himself back then, he wouldn't have been arrested. Nowadays, even though she had plenty to eat and drink following Sun Long, lived in a big house and drove luxury cars, it seemed she wasn't really happy after all. If you miss your daughter so much, you can take her home to stay for a couple of days. Sun Long suddenly spoke up. Would that be all right? Li Hongmei was pleasantly surprised. But then, she quickly shook her head. I don't want to be involved with the past anymore. Having you is enough for me. Sun Long chuckled, but a flicker of disgust flashed in his eyes. She had always refused to bring Yi Xiaoyu along, fearing Sun Long would mind and that it would affect her life. Don't you miss your daughter? Don't you want to spend time with her? Sun Long reached out gently, his touch tender as he stroked Li Hongmei's beautiful hair. You're just afraid that bringing her along would make me unhappy, aren't you? Silly, I love you, and naturally I love everything about you, even your daughter. Li Hongmei couldn't help but feel moved. She saw the sincerity in Sun Long's eyes. Is this really okay? Yes, take her with you. Let her stay for a few days. She must be missing her mom too. Sun Long nodded. Li Hongmei took a deep breath, suppressing her emotions as she stepped out of the car and headed straight toward the kindergarten. Meanwhile, Sun Long, still seated in the vehicle, narrowed his eyes slightly with a faint, ambiguous smile. Hello, I'm Yi Xiaoyu's parent. I'm here to pick her up, Li Hongmei said as she approached the security booth. Yi Xiaoyu's parent? Please wait a moment. I'll need to verify this with the teacher, replied the security guard. Soon, the teacher led Yi Xiaoyu out. Seeing that it wasn't Yi Qiu who came to pick her up, the teacher asked, Are you Yi Xiaoyu's mother? Mommy, it's my mommy. Before Li Hongmei could answer, Yi Xiaoyu shouted excitedly. Seeing her mother again, after several days apart, filled her with longing. My baby. Li Hongmei's eyes reddened. Suddenly, she realized how profoundly her heart trembled upon hearing herself addressed as Mom. Mommy, did Daddy send you to pick me up? Yi Xiaoyu blinked her large, innocent eyes. Yes, I'll take you home now, Xiaoyu. Come with Mommy. Seeing that it was indeed Yi Xiaoyu's mother, the teacher felt relieved and handed Xiaoyu over to Li Hongmei. Mommy, I knew you wouldn't lie to me. I'll learn how to sew clothes again. Isn't Xiaoyu amazing? Yes, you're amazing, Li Hongmei replied as she carried Yi Xiaoyu into the car. Seeing Sun Long behind the wheel, Yi Xiaoyu suddenly fell silent. Why is he here? I need to get out. Dad told me not to go near him. As she spoke, Yi Xiaoyu tried to exit, but with a sharp click, the car door automatically locked. Your mother misses you terribly. Come with her. Sun Long snorted, curling his lips into a wicked grin as he revved the engine and sped away. Yi Qiu left the Chu family and went straight back to the kindergarten to pick up Yi Xiaoyu and take her home. But when he arrived, the teacher told him that Yi Xiaoyu had already been picked up. Who took her? Yi Qiu's expression turned stern. How could you hand over my daughter to someone else? She claimed to be Xiaoyu's mother, and Xiaoyu even called her mom herself, the teacher replied nervously. Was it Hongmei? For some reason, Yi Qiu felt a surge of ominous premonition. Where did they go? They got into a car, said the security guard standing nearby. A Mercedes-Benz. The license plate was. Hearing the license plate number, clearly Sun Long's car, Yi Qiu felt as though his heart had been struck a vicious blow. That bastard Sun Long. Why would he let Li Hongmei take Yi Xiaoyu away? Instantly, he sensed something was seriously wrong. That son of a bitch Sun Long. Why on earth would he willingly let Li Hongmei see the child? He just wanted revenge on himself. Whether it was sending himself to prison or snatching Li Hongmei away, it was all the same. Now he's taken Yi Xiaoyu away, surely with malicious intent. Damn it! Yi Qiu cursed and quickly ran out, startling the teacher and security guards, who realized they might have made a serious mistake. Without another thought, Yi Qiu immediately called Zhao Jianlin. Brother Zhao, help me find a car. Quickly. Little Yuer has been taken by them. Hurry. On the other end of the phone, Zhao Jianlin could clearly sense the rage and murderous intent in Yi Qiu's tone. He knew the situation must be serious and immediately asked his colleagues to pull up surveillance footage to track Sun Long's vehicle. Yi Qiu, that car is heading toward the suburbs. I'll give you directions. While giving instructions, Zhao Jianlin also dispatched people to rush to the scene to prevent any unexpected incidents. Yi Qiu, now familiar with the route, hastily flagged down a taxi. He pulled out all the money he had on him and shoved it into the driver's hands. To the outskirts. Hurry. My daughter's in danger. Go. Seeing his desperation, the driver didn't even bother collecting the money. Instead, he slammed his foot on the accelerator, speeding off at once. Yi Qiu could feel his heart pounding with increasing pain, that terrible premonition growing stronger by the second. Yi Xiaoyu was in serious danger. Sun Long, if you dare lay a finger on my daughter, I swear I'll kill you. Chapter 12. You're asking for death, suburban private estate. This was Sun Long's frequent haunt for entertainment. You guys stay here, he said to the bodyguards at the entrance before leading Li Hongmei and Yi Xiaoyu into the house. Yi Xiaoyu clung tightly to Li Hongmei's hand, visibly frightened. Mom, I'm scared, she whispered. It's all right, Mommy's here, came the reassuring reply. Li Hongmei didn't know why Sun Long had brought them here, but she was happy to spend some time with her daughter. She felt some regret, but the path she had chosen left no room for turning back. There's snacks and toys here. Do you like them? The hall was filled with snacks and toys, clearly showing Sun Long had prepared in advance. Li Hongmei couldn't help but feel moved. He must truly be willing to accept her past. Yi Xiaoyu glanced at the snacks and toys, but still refused to play. Mom, I want to go home. I miss Dad. Her lips quivered with grievance as she pleaded. Can you take me back? Li Hongmei frowned. Mom raised you for 4 years. Can that possibly compare to just a few days he spent looking after you? Her heart ached a little as she said tenderly, Be good. Stay with Mama a while longer. After dinner, I'll take you back, okay? She knew she owed her daughter, but what else could she do? Li Hongmei comforted Yi Xiaoyu, telling her to play with her toys first, then turned to look for Sun Long. At that moment, inside the room, Sun Long wore an indifferent expression, fiddling with something at the table. No one knew what exactly. Holding a syringe, he drew some medicine from one vial and injected it into another, shaking it gently. The blue liquid turned transparent in an instant. A faint smile appeared on Sun Long's face, eerie and menacing. What are you doing? Li Hongmei, standing at the door, paled at the sight of the syringe and medicine, her voice tight with tension. She had no idea what Sun Long intended to do. Sun Long turned to glance at her, his eyes brimming with undisguised disgust and contempt. It seemed at this moment he no longer felt the need to hide. Remember what I told you? He continued his actions. I said I'd make Yi Qiu suffer for a lifetime, that I'd take everything he holds dear. He'll regret ever crossing me. Hearing this, Li Hongmei felt as if her head had exploded. Was Sun Long out of his mind? You want to hurt little Yuer? That bastard? Shouldn't he die? Sun Long turned his head, his face full of venom. How I chased after you back then. Yet you married a good-for-nothing like Yi Qiu and even had a child. That bastard shouldn't even exist in this world. Hearing these words, Li Hongmei felt her blood surge through her veins in an instant. Do you think I'm going to accept you and start over with you? You're dreaming. Do you really believe I'd still want a woman like you, who's lost her virtue? I was just toying with you. Yi Qiu, I pay to have him thrown in prison. Now I'll take you right in front of him, make him despair, and let him see, no matter how desperately he tried to protect you, I can still steal you away with money. Li Hongmei's tears kept flowing, her body trembling violently. She shook her head, unable and unwilling to believe all this. Do and not have even the slightest affection for me? None. Sun Long gently pressed the plunger of the syringe, watching as droplets of medicine dripped from the needle. Looking at you makes me sick. You disgust me more than those prostitutes. Li Hongmei stared at those droplets, her entire going numb. She felt as if her heart had turned to ashes. Sun Long had pursued her only to take revenge on Yi Qiu all along. She had merely been a puppet, a tool in his hands. Now, it's time for you both to disappear. You both. Li Hongmei seemed to have suddenly realized. No wonder Sun Long had insisted she bring Yi Xiaoyu along. He intended to harm Xiaoyu. No, absolutely not. That was her daughter. No one could hurt Yi Xiaoyu. Li Hongmei turned to flee, but Sun Long was faster, darting to the door and yanking her inside. In one swift motion, he wrapped an arm around her neck, leaving her no chance to break free. Let go. Let me go. Help. Li Hongmei struggled desperately, but she was no match for Sun Long. Even her breaths grew ragged under his grip. Sun Long's face twisted with ferocity. Let you go? Don't even dream of it. I've waited 4 years for this day. Don't be afraid. It'll be quick. After this injection, you'll vanish soon enough. Ha ha ha. He directly plunged the needle into Li Hongmei's neck, forcing all the liquid through. Within moments, she stopped struggling, her whole body trembling violently, her face contorted with terror. Sun Long glanced at her. No hurry now. This requires time. You could still regret betraying Yi Qiu. Ha ha ha. As he spoke, he continued dressing wounds while holding a syringe and walked out of the house. Li Hongmei lay slumped on the ground, tears streaming endlessly down her face. She never imagined Sun Long would treat her like this. She regretted it, truly regretted it. But what tormented her most was the realization that she had unintentionally harmed her own daughter. No, please, don't hurt my daughter, don't. Li Hongmei struggled to rise, crawling desperately toward the doorway. But her limbs had gone weak as cotton, rendering her utterly powerless to catch up. Run, Xiaoyu, run, she cried out loudly. In the main hall, Yi Xiaoyu heard the voice and looked up toward the house, only to see Sun Long approaching her with a dark, sinister expression. She instinctively stepped back, her face filled with terror. You little bastard, do you like the gift your uncle gave you? Sun Long pulled out a syringe from his hand. I got something even more fun for you here, ha ha. Yi Xiaoyu turned and ran, but how could Sun Long possibly let her escape? The gate had long been shut, and several bodyguards stood guard outside. Even if she had wings, fleeing this place would be impossible. He wasn't the least bit anxious, seeing Yi Xiaoyu crying in terror. Her face full of fear, he instead grew more exhilarated. He casually pulled out his phone, ready to record it all. Later, he'd show Yi Qiu. He wanted to witness with his own eyes how Yi Qiu would crumble bit by bit. Don't come any closer. Stay away from me. Yi Xiaoyu had nowhere left to run. Pressed against the wall, she still kicked her legs frantically in retreat, her panicked eyes darting around as she screamed, Mom! Mom, where are you? She screamed for her mother, but Li Hongmei couldn't possibly rush out to protect her. Yi Xiaoyu trembled violently, tears falling like broken strings of pearls rolling down continuously. Her little face was filled with terror and helplessness. She turned her head and saw Li Hongmei collapsed at the doorway, her face instantly turning deathly pale. What's wrong with Mom? Why has Mom fallen? Is she dead? Am I going to die too? Little Yuer doesn't want to die. Dad? Dad, where are you? She regretted coming here with Li Hongmei, regretted getting into Sun Long's car, but regret, what use was it now? Yi Xiaoyu cried hysterically, Dad, I'm scared. You little bastard, I'll send you off right now. Sun Long clenched the syringe, lunging forward with a sinister laugh. Bang! Suddenly, the front door was kicked open with a thunderous crash, shattering into pieces. Sun Long was stunned. How could someone have broken in? Were those bodyguards outside, just standing around like corpses? Useless. He turned his head and was shocked to see it was Yi Qiu. His face was full of murderous intent. His eyes locked on his son like a predator. "You bastard, you're asking for death." Chapter 13, Just Deserts. Chapter 13, Just Deserts. Sun Long glanced over. His bodyguard were already lying limp on the ground, unable to move. His expression instantly darkened. He couldn't care less now, a flash of cruelty glinting his eyes as he abruptly raised the syringe and lunged straight at Yi Xiaoyu. Perfect timing. You'll get to watch your wife and daughter vanish from this world with your own eyes. Sun Long looked utterly deranged. The gleaming needle in his hand was moments away from piercing Yi Xiaoyu's body. Yi Qiu felt as if his head had instantly flooded with blood, the energy within him boiling over violently. Swish! He accelerated abruptly, like a humanoid tyrannosaurus, moving at incredible speed. In the blink of an eye, he covered the distance to Sun Long and launched a flying kick with tremendous force. Bang! Sun Long let out a loud cry as his entire body flew backward, crashing heavily onto the ground. Yi Qiu still hadn't stopped. At this moment, consumed by fury, how could he tolerate Sun Long attempting to harm his daughter? This was his daughter, the most important person in his life. No one could lay a finger on her. Smack! He raised his hand and delivered 2 brutal slaps to Sun Long's face, sending several teeth flying from his mouth. "You're asking for death. You're asking for death." Yi Qiu roared, reaching out to grab Sun Long's arm. Crack! H! Sun Long's arm was completely shattered by him. The pain racked his entire body. Yi Qiu still didn't stop, relentlessly striking until all of Sun Long's limbs were broken. A beast like this deserves to die. He picked up the syringe from the ground and stabbed it straight into Sun Long's thigh. Die. Sun Long watched in horror as the potion entered his body. His face twisted with fear, but his limbs had already been broken. There was no way to resist. He screamed, writhing frantically. "No! No! Stop!" His voice was filled with terror. He never imagined such a potion would be used on him. Soon enough, Sun Long lost all strength, convulsing helplessly before collapsing motionless to the ground. Yi Qiu picked up little Yuer, covering her eyes to prevent her from seeing the horrific scene. Daddy was late. It's all Daddy's fault. Filled with self-blame, he had almost lost his daughter. That beast Sun Long deserved to die 10,000 times over. "Mommy." Little Yuer was still trembling, nestled in Yi Qiu's arms, and whispered softly, "How is Mommy?" Yi Qiu hurriedly carried Yi Xiaoyu into the house and saw Li Hongmei already collapsed on the floor, her breath faint. She looked almost beyond saving. "I'm sorry." Li Hongmei's gaze was vacant, her voice already gone. Only by reading her lips could one tell she was apologizing. Without hesitation, Yi Qiu set down Xiaoyu, swiftly pressed a few acupoints on Li Hongmei's body, then used an astral energy needle to slice open her blood vessels, forcing the toxins out. A while later, Zhao Jinlin arrived. He hadn't anticipated such a turn of events. "Take all these animals away. They've got what they deserved. Interrogate them thoroughly." Zhao Jinlin rushed inside to find Yi Qiu attending to Li Hongmei. Spotting the medicine bottles on the table, his expression darkened. They contained the banned drugs he'd been investigating. He never expected Sun Long would be using them. "Call an ambulance," Yi Qiu said. "Got it." Zhao Jinlin nodded and immediately notified emergency services. He glanced at Li Hongmei. "How is she?" "She'll be fine." Yi Qiu looked at Li Hongmei, his emotions tangled. This woman, once his dearest love, the person he vowed to protect with all his might, yet now they've somehow ended up at this point. "Just now, Mom told me to run. Why didn't she run herself?" Yi Xiaoyu asked. Yi Qiu reached out and gently patted Xiaoyu's head. "Because Mom loves you. She wanted to protect you." "Brother Zhao, I'll have to trouble you here. I'd like to take Xiaoyu home first." He didn't want the child to stay in such a place. "All right, you go back first. I'll come find you later." Zhao Jinlin patted his shoulder, knowing Yi Qiu must be feeling terrible. "Leave this to me." He arranged for someone to drive Yi Qiu and the others back, then stayed behind with a few men to handle the scene. When the ambulance arrived, he made sure Li Hongmei was rushed to the hospital immediately. In the hall, Sun Long lay there, limbs broken beyond recognition. A gruesome sight. The drugs had already taken effect, ending his life. Zhao Jianlin wore a grim expression, unnerved not just by Yi Qiu's formidable skills, but also because these drugs had actually begun spreading throughout Tianhai. Boss, it's confirmed. It's the banned drug we've been tracking. Who would have thought Sun Long would have it in his possession? Investigate immediately. Put the Sun family under surveillance. This lead on Sun Long is too crucial. Yes, sir. Inside the hospital, Li Hongmei slowly opened her eyes. She thought she had died, but the pain racking her body told her she was still alive. Awake, she turned her head and saw a stranger sitting in the chair beside her. My name is Zhao Jianlin, from the investigative unit. Zhao Jianlin introduced himself. Yi Qiu saved you. At the mention of Yi Qiu's name, Li Hongmei's tears rolled down as she nodded with a choked sob, wanting to say something but uncertain what to say. Yi Qiu wasn't here. How she wished he were. She didn't dare hope for his forgiveness, yet still longed to apologize to him. It was all her fault, her failing to hold on. Little Yushi, don't worry, your daughter is fine, Zhao Jianlin said. Little Yuer told us that her mother is very brave and has always been protecting her. Upon hearing these words, Li Hongmei burst into uncontrollable sobs. She had nearly caused Yi Xiaoyu's death, yet the child still called her mom and firmly believed she would always protect her. Tears of remorse streamed down Li Hongmei's face as she realized she had lost a family, lost Yi Qiu, the man who loved her most, and was about to lose that adorable daughter who had always loved her too. After quite some time, she finally calmed down. There are some matters we need to investigate and verify with you. Seeing she had finished venting, Zhao Jianlin finally spoke. I'll cooperate with everything. Li Hongmei's voice was barely above a whisper. Captain Zhao, could you do me a favor? Li Hongmei took out a ring from her pocket and gently placed it in Zhao Jianlin's hand. This is my wedding ring with Yi Qiu. Please return it to him for me and tell him I'm sorry. I don't deserve his love. Zhao Jianlin nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, Yi Qiu took little Yuer home and gently soothed her. Only after seeing her peacefully drifting off to sleep did he finally feel at ease and lay his worries to rest. The phone suddenly rang. As soon as Yi Qiu answered, a cold voice came through the receiver. Yi Qiu, skipping work without reason. Do you think the hospital is your own home? Coming and going as you please? Let me tell you, the supervisory department has already started an investigation. Get ready to pack your bags. It was Luo Ping calling. He had reported to the supervisory department that Yi Qiu practiced medicine illegally without a license, and the case had officially been filed. Seeing that Yi Qiu still hadn't shown up for work, unauthorized absence, Luo Ping seized the opportunity and went straight for the kill. Yi Qiu was getting angry. Luo Ping was clearly making things difficult for him on purpose. If it weren't for Gao Qiao's repeated invitations, he wouldn't have wanted to go at all. What good was more money if he couldn't spend time with his daughter? Since arriving at the hospital, this Luo Ping had been provoking him repeatedly. Did he really think Yi Qiu was easy to bully? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Listen here, I'm not going anymore, Yi Qiu snarled. Don't come begging for me later. Chapter 14. Beg him to come back. Immediately, he hung up with a bang. Yi Qiu was crystal clear. With his extraordinary medical skills and formidable martial prowess, could he not find a job to support himself and his daughter? He wouldn't take insults from fools like Luo Ping. On the other end of the line, Luo Ping never expected Yi Qiu to dare hang up on him. Such audacity. Was he throwing a tantrum out of sheer humiliation? Oomph. You didn't resign, you got kicked out. Luo Ping gloated. Compete with me? What do you even have to compete with? He just couldn't stand seeing people who got in through connections. Not just connections, but straight into the expert panel. What gave them the right? Had it just been about getting into the hospital as an ordinary doctor, he might have let it slide. But Yi Qiu effortlessly landed the position he had been dreaming of. How could he possibly accept this? Meanwhile, in Gao Qiao's office, he was chatting over tea with a gray-haired old man. Guess what I found? You call me here so excitedly. It must be something good. The Xianqi needle. Gao Qiao couldn't contain himself and blurted out. What did you say? The old man, sitting across, immediately stood up, looking at Gao Qiao with utter disbelief. Old Gao, this is no joking matter. Who's joking with you? Gao Qiao wore a smug expression. I saw it with my own eyes, and it was a young man, skilled and masterful in his technique. Probably a disciple of some reclusive master, remarkable medical prowess. Where is he? The old man asked anxiously. What, you have ideas? Gao Qiao burst into laughter, even more pleased when he saw his friend's excited expression. Too late. He's already part of our hospital. I invited him here. You've missed your chance. How could he possibly let such talent slip through his fingers? Calling his friend over today had been purely because he couldn't contain himself. He wanted to flaunt this achievement properly in front of him. These old-timers understood better than anyone just how formidable a doctor skilled in Xuanqi needle techniques truly was. That is truly a gem in the field of medical arts. Who knows how many generations it's been lost? To witness its continuation now is exceptionally rare. You old fox, how did you move so fast? The old man was itching with curiosity. Where is he? Take me to see him now. Gao Qiao nodded. No problem at all. He should be here today. I'll introduce you. The young man is quite humble and has excellent medical ethics. You like him? The two couldn't stay seated any longer. They stood up immediately and went straight to find Yi Qiu after leaving the office. Just as they reached the entrance, they saw the dean hurrying over and nearly colliding with Gao Qiao. What's going on? You seem frantic. Gao Qiao frowned as he spoke. Yi Qiu has been reported by someone. The dean had just received the news when the inspectors came to his office. What did you say? Gao Qiao widened his eyes, his beard practically bristling. We didn't submit the materials I prepared for you. He had asked several friends from various industries to write reference letters, using his reputation as guarantee. There should be no issues at all. How could someone possibly report him? Who the hell has nothing better to do? They were just submitted and haven't even gone through approval yet. Where is Yi Qiu? Gao Qiao was frantic. If such an outstanding doctor were reported and driven away because of this, he'd be furious to death. He didn't come. Said he wasn't coming anymore. The dean rarely saw Gao Qiao so enraged and didn't dare raise his voice. Gao Qiao was so furious he could barely stand straight, his body trembling with rage as he roared with bloodshot eyes. Who the hell reported this? What a fucking lunatic. He had pleaded and negotiated endlessly before Yi Qiu finally agreed to join the first hospital's expert panel, only for some bastard with too much time on his hands to ruin everything. Gao Qiao was ready to kill the son of a bitch. Seems it was Chief Surgeon Luo Ping. The dean was equally exasperated. Had Luo Ping lost his damn mind? Didn't he realize Yi Qiu was Gao Qiao's personally requested recruit? He didn't dare to say anything himself, yet that guy actually went ahead and reported it directly to the supervisory department. Gao Qiao's face darkened as he walked swiftly towards the surgical ward without a word. At that moment, Luo Ping was in high spirits, sipping tea while chatting with colleagues. Medicine is an empirical discipline without years of accumulation. How could anyone possess sufficiently rich experience? Those greenhorns fresh out of school, what makes them think they're qualified to join our hospital? He spoke loudly, as if deliberately informing everyone that Yi Qiu had no right to enter Tianhai First Hospital. Bang! Suddenly, the office door was flung open. Who's there? Luo Ping turned and shouted. This is a hospital. Do you know, Elder Gao? He immediately shut his mouth, not daring to say another word. So you do know this is a hospital? Gao Qiao was fuming with anger. Do you know what's most important in a hospital? Old Gao, it's the doctors. It's skilled doctors. Only when doctors' expertise improves can more patients be saved. Ignoring any response, Gao Qiao roared. Was it you who reported Yi Qiu and got him expelled? So he came here all because of Yi Qiu? Luo Ping immediately understood. He knew Yi Qiu had entered the hospital through Gao Qiao's connections and had long prepared for this, but he never expected Gao Qiao to confront him directly and to scold me in front of so many people. After all, he's still a department head. Professor Gao, I respect you, but this Yi Qiu doesn't even have a qualification certificate, let alone being so young. He's utterly unsuitable to join our hospital. Moreover, more my foot. Gao Qiao glared. A person unanimously endorsed by all 8 of us expert panel members is unsuitable in your eyes. Are you suggesting that the 8 of us old men combined are no match for you? At these words, Luo Ping's expression darkened. All 8 expert panel members? Those are all the towering figures of the medical field, prestigious doctors renowned not just in Tianhai, but even in the provincial capital. And they all know Yi Qiu. He thought it was just Gao Xiao's influence alone. Old Gao this. Luo Ping, I know you want to join the expert panel. Is that why you're deliberately giving Yi Qiu a hard time? Gao Xiao is old, but not foolish. Let me tell you, compared to Yi Qiu, you're nowhere near his level. Even I wouldn't dare claim to be better than him. What makes you think you can question him? His words sent Luo Ping into a panic. Only when he saw the dean standing behind Gao Xiao and the professor visiting from the provincial capital did Luo Ping realize he had offended the wrong person. Yi Qiu was actually that capable? How could this be possible? His face blank with shock, he hastily apologized. Professor Gao, I was wrong, utterly blind. I had no idea he was so talented. I just thought. Save your damn excuses. Gao Xiao's temper flared. Were he not restrained by age, he might have thrown a punch. Listen closely. If you don't get Yi Qiu back here, you can forget about joining the expert panel in this lifetime. Luo Ping felt his head spin violently. Professor Gao, I'll go bring him back right now. Immediately. Chapter 15. Astounding Luo Ping scurried out in a frenzy, terrified that Gao Xiao might lose his temper and immediately expel him from the hospital. His mind went completely blank. How could he have failed to see that Yi Qiu was actually so formidable? He must have been blind to provoke someone like this. Damn it all. Gao Xiao's chest heaved violently. If Yi Qiu doesn't return, don't you dare come back either. How could he not be furious? A medical master like Yi Qiu was worth his weight in gold. Old Gao, calm down. The old friend following behind, Su Onghua, a renowned medical professor from the provincial capital, patted Gao Xiao's shoulder. Take care of your health. Gao Xiao shot him a glance. How can I not be angry? If it were you, you'd have already started throwing punches. Su Onghua chuckled and shook his head. His interest in Yi Qiu grew even stronger. If Yi Qiu was indeed as impressive as Gao Xiao claimed and unwilling to return to First Hospital, perhaps he could be recruited to his own institution. Still, he didn't dare voice such thoughts now, lest Gao Xiao kick him out on the spot. At that time, Yi Qiu had just dropped Yi Xiaoyu off at kindergarten and returned home after buying groceries. Not long after stepping inside, someone knocked at the door. Yi Qiu opened the door to find Luo Ping standing there, holding several gift bags in his hands, smiling awkwardly, far removed from the haughty tone he'd used during their phone call. Yi Qiu, I'm truly sorry. I came to apologize. Even someone as dense as Luo Ping knew when to swallow his pride. Regardless of anything else, Yi Qiu's unusual connection with Gao Xiao was clear enough. Offending Yi Qiu was one thing, but displeasing Gao Xiao? That was absolutely out of the question. Apologize? What have you done wrong? Yi Qiu sneered. You weren't wrong at all. I really don't deserve to enter First Hospital. With that, he moved to close the door, but Luo Ping hastily stepped forward to block it. Yi Qiu, don't be angry anymore. It was all just a misunderstanding. Luo Ping hastily protested. If you refuse to return, old Gao will chase me away. Sure enough, he had only come for his own sake. Yi Qiu knew all too well. It had to be Gao Xiao pressuring Luo Ping that drove him to beg for his return. But on what grounds? You think you can come and go as you please? In your dreams. Wasn't I clear enough? Said Yi Qiu. I'm not going back. With that, he pushed Luo Ping aside and slammed the door shut with a bang, nearly hitting Luo Ping's nose. Standing at the door, Luo Ping was furious. Clearly, Yi Qiu was flaunting Gao Xiao's backing just to humiliate him. Yi Qiu, why don't you be the bigger person and let this go? I've got elders to care for and children to raise. Why must you bully me like this? Luo Ping suppressed his anger as he called out in a sarcastic, exaggerated tone, deliberately making sure the neighbors would hear. You're leaving me no way out, he shouted at the doorstep. Can't you be a little less ruthless? Listening to Luo Ping's endless grumbling outside, laced with thinly veiled threats, Yi Qiu couldn't believe this was the attitude of someone who had come to beg for mercy. It seems that because people usually treat him with excessive deference, Luo Ping genuinely believes he's superior to everyone else. Yi Qiu ignored him and directly called Gao Xiao. Recognizing Yi Qiu's call, Gao Xiao immediately answered the phone. Hey now, I was afraid you might ignore me. This was all a misunderstanding. Don't be angry. It was my mistake, all right? Professor Gao, I respect you, but it's impossible for me to rejoin your team. Yi Qiu said bluntly, if there's anything you need help with in the future, Elder Gao, you can ask me. But right now, all I want is for that mad dog outside my door to leave immediately. His tone was laced with anger, and how could Gao Qiao not notice? Luo Ping, that fool, was utterly incompetent. He was sent to beg Yi Qiu for forgiveness and persuade him to return, yet he managed to piss Yi Qiu off again. Gao Qiao was so furious his back trembled, but he understood that Yi Qiu had made up his mind, completely infuriated by Luo Ping's antics. Fine, I respect your decision. This matter is my fault for not handling it properly. Please don't stay angry, he conceded. Gao Qiao hung up the phone and immediately called Luo Ping. Come to the hospital this afternoon to handle the paperwork. Luo Ping hadn't quite processed it yet. What paperwork was needed? Get the hell out of First Hospital. Gao Qiao practically roared, slamming the phone down with a crack. The impact left Luo Ping's ears ringing. Only then did he realize he'd been fired. He'd actually been fired? It must be because of Yi Qiu. Luo Ping's eyes flashed with ferocity, his rage threatening to erupt into flames. Because of Yi Qiu, Gao Qiao was firing him, a department head? He wouldn't accept this. To hell with Gao Qiao. To hell with Yi Qiu. Luo Ping threw the gift package in his hand to the ground, picked up a brick nearby, and was about to charge forward to smash the door when someone behind him shouted to stop him. What are you trying to do? None of your damned. Luo Ping turned his furious face, only to see a uniformed figure that instantly dissipated his anger, leaving him deflated like a balloon. Zhao Jinlin stood there, exuding an aura of righteousness that made Luo Ping's grip loosen. He hastily threw the brick to the ground, unable to suppress his panic. Go ahead, smash it, Zhao Jinlin said. Smash whatever you want. As he spoke, he pulled out handcuffs from his waist, staring intently at Luo Ping with unwavering intimidation. Luo Ping didn't dare say another word and hurriedly turned to flee. Take your stuff with you, Zhao Jinlin shouted. Luo Ping quickly turned back, snatched the gift bag he had dropped, and dashed away even faster. He knocked on the door. Yi Qiu, it's me. Yi Qiu opened the door and let Zhao Jinlin in. You seem to have your fair share of trouble, he remarked, glancing around the room, noticeably tidier than before. Yi Qiu neither confirmed nor denied it, merely waving a hand. What brings you here? With Zhao Jinlin, formalities were unnecessary. The verdict on Sun Long's case is out. It was ruled as self-defense on your part, no liability. Sun Long's involved in some other cases we're still investigating, Zhao Jinlin said. But the Sun family might not let you off. Why don't you take Xiao Yuer and leave Tianhai for now to lay low? The Sun family was powerful and influential. Until he had thoroughly investigated and cleaned up the Sun family, he feared Yi Qiu might face retaliation. However, Yi Qiu shook his head and refused. If they dare retaliate, I'll make them regret it. His tone was brimming with dominance. No matter who it was, no one could bully the two of them now, especially Xiao Yuer. Whoever dared harm her would face Yi Qiu's unforgiving wrath. Zhao Jinlin nodded, knowing this was Yi Qiu's temperament. Given Yi Qiu's capabilities, the Sun family probably wouldn't fare well either. Call me anytime if you need anything. With that, he took out a ring from his pocket and handed it to Yi Qiu. Li Hongmei asked me to give this to you. She's left Tianhai and wanted to apologize, saying she wasn't worthy of your love. Yi Qiu took the ring, memories flashing through his mind like an old film reel. How they met, grew close, fell in love, and had a child together. Everything had been so beautiful. Yet this is how things turned out. These are all fated. He put away the ring and nodded. She'll have a new life, and so will we. Meanwhile, at the Chu residence, Chu Tiangang excitedly slapped the table. Are you sure? Brother Yi is truly amazing. Unbelievably amazing. Chapter 16, Virtue and Good Deeds. Chapter 16, Virtue and Good Deeds. He had hesitated before. After all, Yi Qiu asked him to abandon such a major project, meaning significant losses. Yet, who would have thought, within just a few days, he had already earned it all back. Boss, should we take it back now? The price is even billions lower than before. Wait a bit longer. Chu Tiangang pondered for a moment. Wait for my call. Hanging up the phone, he immediately stood up, intending to personally pick up Yi Qiu. He searched all along the way, but didn't find Yi Qiu in the neighborhood. When he arrived at the kindergarten, He saw Yi Qiu just in time picking up Xiao Yuer from school. That Rolls-Royce, renowned throughout the city, once again sent the kindergarten into a frenzy. Last time, it was Chu Tiangong's driver who came for Yi Qiu, but this time, it was Chu Tiangang himself, arriving in person. Brother Yi. As soon as Chu Tiangang got out of the car, he loudly called out, and that greeting, Brother Yi, left everyone on the scene stunned, as if they had been struck by lightning. Brother Yi? The surrounding parents all dared not speak a word, silently reminding themselves to warn their children later. Must never provoke little fishy. Who would dare mess with him? What brings you here? Yi Qiu glanced over, not expecting Chu Tiangang to show up. Ha! Just wanted to invite you for a meal. Chu Tiangang was extremely polite, standing in line with Yi Qiu while waiting to pick up their kids after school. This further shocked everyone around them. This is one of Tianhai City's wealthiest tycoons, and he's actually standing in line with them? The teacher led Yi Xiaoyu out and grew visibly nervous upon seeing Chu Tiangang there. Daddy! But Xiaoyu didn't recognize Chu Tiangang. Spotting Yi Qiu, he immediately rushed over and threw his arms around his neck. I missed you and your fried eggs. Yi Qiu's face brimmed with tenderness. All right, let's go home. Daddy will fry some for you. Come on, say goodbye to your teacher and classmates. Goodbye, teacher. Goodbye, classmates. Yi Xiaoyu said obediently. Yi Qiu carried her as they walked, with Chu Tiangang following closely behind, step by step. Nothing like a wealthy tycoon, just a little lackey. He called Yi Qiu Brother Yi, but anyone could tell Yi Qiu wasn't particularly polite in return. What exactly is going on here? Teacher Zhao, what does Xiaoyu's father do for a living? Someone couldn't resist asking. The teacher could only shake her head, not knowing that her simple gesture actually gave people the impression that Yi Qiu's identity was extremely secretive and shrouded in profound mystery. Brother Yi, hop in the car. Today I'm treating you and your daughter to a meal. Chu Tiangang said, thanks to you for the last incident. To be honest, the Chu family owes you more favors than we could ever repay. You flatter me, Master Chu. It was truly nothing more than a small effort on my part. This isn't just politeness. You saved my son's life, then mine. Our Chu family follows this principle. Debts must be repaid. Of course, I don't mean to settle all accounts between us, Brother Yi, but I simply want to express my gratitude. Knowing Yi Qiu had strong principles, Chu Tiangang quickly turned to Yi Xiaoyu. Little fish, Uncle has giant lobsters at home. Would you like to try some? Yi Xiaoyu swallowed hard, but didn't answer, instead looking at Yi Qiu. Though her mouth watered at the thought, she wouldn't go unless Yi Qiu agreed. Little greedy cat. Yi Qiu reached out his finger and tapped her forehead lightly. If you want to eat, then thank Uncle Chu. Thank you, Uncle. Hey. That address of Uncle Chu made Chu Tiangang practically float with joy. No need to be so polite with your uncle. Come on. The group returned to the Chu residence, where Chu Tiangang immediately summoned a chef to prepare a meal, personally taking little Yuer to the kitchen's live seafood tanks to pick ingredients. Whatever she fancied would be cooked. He sat drinking tea with Yi Qiu in the living room. Brother Yi, you're truly extraordinary. You called it perfectly regarding my project. Chu Tiangang couldn't help but marvel at the thought. A crime scene was discovered there, making the entire project extremely unsettled. If I were to give up now, my competitor would snatch it away. But disasters kept happening for several consecutive days, forcing the project to halt completely. That competitor of mine tried every possible method, but failed to resolve the issues. Now he has no choice but to painfully sell it off at a price over $1 billion lower than what I originally paid. If the Chu family repurchased it now, it would be like earning upwards of $1 billion without lifting a finger. But Chu Tiangang knew the underlying problems remained unsolved. Even if he bought it back, he'd eventually have to resell it again. That's why he invited Yi Qiu, hoping to see if Yi Qiu had any solution to break this curse. Yi Qiu naturally understood what Tiangang Chu was implying. You want to ask me if there's a way to break it, right? Exactly. Chu Tiangang didn't hold back. It's only natural for businessmen to pursue profit. Why not earn money when you can? I'll follow Brother Yi's lead. If Brother Yi says this project truly can be done, then I won't do it. Money is nothing but worldly possessions, a realization Chu Tiangang had come to somewhat clearly. There is a solution, but the key to unraveling it actually lies within you. Chu Tian was momentarily stunned before hastily pouring Yi Qiu a cup of tea. What do you mean? Doing good deeds and accumulating virtue can help you avoid harm and stay immune to all dangers, Yi Qiu said. Chu Tiangang didn't quite understand. After making a fortune, he had indeed done many charitable deeds, but they were merely to buy peace of mind, not out of genuine sincerity. It wasn't until recently, when his son got into trouble and he himself nearly lost his life, that he began to grasp the meaning behind Yi Qiu's words. Brother Yi, just tell me straight what I should do. Hold on, I'll accompany you to inspect the project site. Yi Qiu didn't spell it out. All right, no problem. With you handling it, Brother Yi, I can rest easy. Chu Tiangang smiled. They chatted for a while, and soon the meal was ready. Yi Xiaoyu happily indulged in the meal. It was the finest food she'd ever tasted in her young life. She wasn't greedy, nor did she dare waste a single bite, for Yi Qiu had taught her to be polite and to cherish every grain. After finishing dinner, Yi Qiu allowed Yi Xiaoyu to stay and play at the Chu residence, where there was a large yard brimming with toys to keep her entertained for hours. Meanwhile, he and Chu Tiangang headed straight for the newly purchased project site. This plot of land is located near the outskirts of the city. Right now, it still looks desolate, but once the supporting facilities are completed, this will undoubtedly become a thriving area. No wonder so many businessmen are competing for this land, though now it's become more like a hot potato. Chu Tiangang took Yi Qiu directly to the patch of woods, where warning tape could still be seen blocking the way. As they approached, a chilly wind blew past, making them instinctively pull their clothes tighter. Brother Yi, this is the place, said Chu Tiangang, swallowing hard as he followed behind Yi Qiu. Just standing here gives people the creeps. Many who came here ended up in trouble. Yi Qiu nodded and strode forward, his gaze sharp as a torch, instantly unleashing twin beams of divine light. Wherever his eyes fell, all became crystal clear. He spotted a shadowy figure drifting about like flotsam amid the grove of trees. Without delay, he instructed others to arrange offerings of fruit, chicken, and duck. Then, with his finger, he traced several strange runes in the air before turning his head to look at Chu Tiangang. You just asked me for the solution. Now I'll tell you. Chapter 17, Settling Accounts. Chapter 17, Settling Accounts. Chu Tiangang's expression immediately turned solemn as he nodded earnestly. Are you willing to support his parents? Yi Qiu demanded. I am. Chu Tiangang knew exactly who Yi Qiu was referring to. Are you willing to provide for his parents until their dying days? I am. Yi Qiu turned his head, glancing toward the small grove of trees. The Chu family head is a good man. Your parents and family have all been settled properly. You can rest assured and go now. He will keep his word. I guarantee it. As the words faded, a gust of wind swept past. Chu Tiangang felt the chill around him vanish in an instant, replaced by a soothing warmth. He couldn't help but feel a shiver run down his spine. Wasn't this just too mystical? Chu family head, once spoken, your words must be honored. Otherwise, the consequences will be even more serious. Yi Qiu said, you may proceed with this project now. Understood. I'll handle it immediately. He bowed toward the grove, then immediately arranged for someone to investigate the victim's family information thoroughly. Since he had made those statements, he absolutely had to follow through. Chu Tiangang wasted no time and got straight to work, aggressively driving down prices to repurchase from his competitors, forcibly securing nearly $2 billion in profit. The competitors were still waiting to see the show, but to their surprise, as soon as Chu Tiangang took over, the project proceeded with remarkable smoothness. Not only were there no issues, but it even seemed as if some unseen force was protecting him, ensuring everything fell perfectly into place. This was the first time Chu Tiangang had encountered such a phenomenon, and his awe toward Yi Qiu deepened even further. Yi Qiu told him that only by keeping kindness in heart could one go further. Chu Tiangang immediately decided to allocate 100 million to establish a foundation dedicated to helping elderly parents who had lost their only child. They returned to the Chu residence, where Yi Xiaoyu had already fallen asleep from exhaustion. Yi Qiu picked her up to leave, but Chu Tiangang quickly called out to stop him. "Brother Yi, I truly don't know how to thank you," Chu Tiangang said, taking out a set of keys and a card. "Please accept these tokens of my gratitude." Yi Qiu waved his hand in refusal. "I didn't help you for these. With capability comes the power to help more people. By assisting you, I'm helping them. Do you understand?" Chu Tiangang was deeply moved. Yi Qiu's moral compass was truly remarkable. "Rest assured, although I, Chu Tiangang, am not some remarkable figure, I will certainly do everything in my power to help more people. I think I finally understand the meaning behind your words, Brother Yi." Chu Tiangang took a deep breath. "But I hope you'll accept these. Surely you must think about your daughter, don't you?" Yi Qiu fell silent. Children need a better living environment and conditions. It's what every father wishes for most. Without giving Yi Qiu a chance to refuse, Chu Tiangang firmly pressed the keys to the house and car into Yi Qiu's pocket. "Moreover, I know with Brother Ye's skills, you'll never be short of money in the future. But this is just a token of my appreciation. Please use it to buy some clothes and toys for little fish. After all, she calls me uncle." Yi Qiu nodded. "All right, I'll accept it then. Thank you." He genuinely needed the money at the moment. Had he not intervened, Chu Tiangang wouldn't have easily earned those 2 billion and might even have suffered heavier losses or worse, lost his life. For Chu Tiangang, this truly was nothing more than a small gesture. Yi Qiu stepped outside, where a brand new Mercedes-Benz was parked right by the door. He pressed the key fob, and the headlights flashed. Opening the door, he settled Yi Xiaoyu into the child's seat before driving off. The house Chu Tian just gave is located right in the city center, a spacious 300 square meters. Everything inside was fully furnished. Yi Qiu and the others only needed to buy some new clothes before they could move right in. The next morning, Yi Xiaoyu woke up and stared at the enormous house with sparkling eyes. "Daddy, is this our new home? Do you like it?" Hum. Little Yuer ran back and forth barefoot across the spacious hall. It was so much bigger than their tiny rented apartment before. "Slow down," Yi Qiu called out, worried she might fall. He never wanted to return to their old place. Now it was just the two of them, father and daughter, starting life anew. After breakfast, we'll go shopping. He needed to buy little Yuer some clothes and shoes. A girl should always be dressed prettily. The fridge was completely empty too, so he'd have to stock up on groceries. Even though he had money now, he still preferred cooking meals for his daughter himself. The mall was bustling with activity. Yi Xiaoyu loved coming here, especially to the children's play area, something she'd rarely had the chance to do before. Yi Qiu played with her for a long time until they were both exhausted, then carried her out for shopping, intending to buy her some new clothes. The little shirt Xiaoyu was wearing still had patches on it. They walked into a children's clothing chain store, where Yi Qiu stopped in his tracks, his gaze drawn to a dress. "Does it look nice?" he asked Yi Xiaoyu. Came a reply. Yi Xiaoyu gazed at the sparkling lace and the shimmering hem of the skirt, nodding in approval. What girl could resist such a beautiful dress? However, she glanced up at the exquisitely decorated shop, then at the waitstaff inside dressed in professional attire. Clearly, the prices here wouldn't be cheap. Her mother had taken her there once before, leaving in a hurry after just a glance. She remembered it clearly. "Dad, let's check out the clothing market." It was Tianhai's small merchandise market where clothes were dirt cheap. Yet Yi Qiu shook his head. He wanted to give Yi Xiaoyu the best, and he was determined to strive for nothing less. Holding Xiaoyu in his arms, he walked straight toward that dress and was about to reach for it when a shop assistant hurried over from behind and stopped him with an outstretched hand. Hey, don't touch that." The clerk glanced at Yi Qiu, then at Yi Xiaoyu, frowning immediately upon noticing the patched dress the girl was wearing. "Are you buying or not? Stop touching things randomly. If you break them, how am I supposed to sell them?" Yi Qiu frowned, while Xiaoyu instinctively tucked her head down. The morning's joy seemed to evaporate in an instant. "Obviously we came in to buy," he said, staring at the clerk. "But how will my daughter know if the size fits without trying it on? And what if you try it and don't buy it, leaving it dirty?" The clerk scoffed and pointed at the price tag without any politeness. "Take a look at the price first. Try it only if you can afford it. This isn't some bargain market." She had just overheard Yi Xiaoyu saying she would go to the bargain market to buy clothes. Clearly, they couldn't afford anything here. "Daddy, let's go," Yi Xiaoyu said timidly, her face crestfallen. This wasn't the first time she'd been shooed away like this. This made Yi Chi furious. "Fine, I'll buy it," he said, taking a deep breath. "Now take it down and let my daughter try it on." The waiter didn't move, staring at Yi Chio as she extended her hand. "Payment first. Only after paying can it be considered purchase." She wasn't about to trust so easily. This was a brand name store. Even a little girl's dress wouldn't come cheap. If Yi Chio was tricking her, trying on clothes without buying anything, wouldn't that just waste her time? Slap. Yi Chio directly pulled out the card Chu Tian had just given him and threw it on the counter. Check out. Chapter 18. Stolen? Chapter 18. Stolen? When the waitress saw that card, her pupils instantly contracted, her expression changing slightly as she shot another look at Yi Chio, her entire face now filled with wariness. She didn't say anything, picked up the card, and turned to walk into the manager's office. "Daddy, can I not have this dress anymore?" Little Yiweir's eyes were slightly red with grievance. She really didn't like being looked at with those eyes, as if they were thieves. Yi Chio crouched down and said softly, "It's all right. Daddy will buy you whatever you like. We can afford it, okay?" He felt both angry and upset. Yiweir was still so young. Her fragile self-esteem needed protection more than anything. Inside the manager's office, a waiter hurried in. "Manager, something's happened." "What's wrong?" The shop owner, who was leaning on the sofa playing with his phone, didn't even lift his head. What could possibly go wrong? "Look here." The waiter handed the card to the shop owner, who glanced at it and seemed not to react at first, but then suddenly looked up sharply, even forgetting about the game they were playing, and hastily took the card to examine it closely. Where did this come from? His expression was stern. "There's a customer outside using this card," the waiter said, "but from what I can see, that man couldn't possibly own a card of this level." "Manager, do you think he might have stolen it?" the manager blurted out instinctively. It never even crossed his mind that it might have been found. After hearing the waiter describe the clothing of Yi Chio and his daughter, he was convinced the card couldn't possibly belong to Yi Chio. What a joke, this kind of unlimited limit card. There seemed to be fewer than 3 in all of Tianhai, all held by those mega-rich tycoons who could easily withdraw 100 million in cash without blinking. How could some shabbily dressed, borderline destitute person possibly qualify to own such a card? Call security immediately. The shop manager made a snap decision. "Fine, daring to use a stolen card in my store. If anything goes wrong, we'll all be in trouble." He immediately stood up and instructed the waiter to call security, ready to intercept Yi Chio. "Daddy, why is it taking so long?" The waiter had been inside for quite a while. Could settling the bill really be this slow? Yi Chio looked up to reassure Xiao Yuer to wait a little longer. Just as he was about to go look for the waiter, he saw the staff member emerging from the back office with a middle-aged man in tow. "Is this card yours?" The shop owner sneered, his tone dripping with undisguised disdain and contempt. "It's mine. Is there a problem?" "Yours? How shameless can you be?" The shop owner lashed out immediately. "Speak. Where did you steal it from? How dare you try scamming in my store? You got some nerve." Hearing this, Yi Chio frowned. "Stolen?" This card was forcibly given to him by Chu Tiangang. He had refused but couldn't decline. How had it become stolen goods? Too scared to admit it now? Cat got your tongue. The shop owner, seeing Yi Chio remain silent, thought he was feeling guilty. Let me tell you, a person should have some shame, some bottom line. Is this how you teach your child? When your daughter grows up, will she turn out just like you, a liar? His words were especially harsh, and his loud voice frightened Xiao Yuer, who quickly hid behind Yi Chio. She just liked that dress. Why was this uncle yelling at people? Yi Chio took a deep breath, unwilling to engage further. "I'm not buying it anymore. Give me back my card." He reached out to take the card, but the store manager took a step back, refusing to hand it over. "Think you could just leave?" Click, click, click. Behind him, 4 or 5 security guards quickly dashed over, blocking the store entrance and preventing Yi Chio from leaving. "Do you really think you can walk away now?" The store manager sneered. "Stop him. Don't let a thief like him escape. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. If he's a thief now, his kid will grow up to be one too." His words made Xiaoyer want to cry. Why? Why did they have to be treated like this just for wanting to buy a dress? Yi Chio was even more furious. That the manager had humiliated him was bad enough, but how dare he speak to Xiaoyer like that? He stepped forward, snatched the card right out of the manager's hand, and turned to leave with Yi Xiaoyer. "Stop them!" The security guards behind them immediately moved into action, showing no mercy. One of them shoved Xiaoyu hard, sending her tumbling to the ground. You're asking for death. Yi Qiu couldn't hold back any longer and abruptly lifted his leg, kicking the security guard flying with one mighty strike. Bang! Dare to fight back? Beat him to death. Seeing Yi Qiu dare to retaliate, the remaining security guards immediately charged at him all at once. But at this moment, Yi Qiu was genuinely enraged. He hadn't wanted to stoop to their level, but they had insulted Xiaoyu and even knocked her down. What father could tolerate that? Bang! 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 With a few swift strikes, Yi Qiu sent all the security guards sprawling to the ground, utterly immobilized. Call the police. Quick, call the police. The store manager and the waitstaff never expected Yi Qiu to be this formidable, instantly taken aback. Get the bank personnel here, quickly. The waiter frantically made phone calls. The way they looked at Yi Qiu was as if he were a savage, a thief, a robber. Yi Qiu shielded Xiaoyu behind him, not in any hurry to leave. He wanted to see exactly what gave these people the right to treat him and his daughter this way. What gave them the right? How arrogant. Stealing someone else's bank card details and daring to assault people. Don't you dare run away now. Just wait till you're begging for mercy later. The store manager shouted angrily. I'm not leaving. Yi Qiu stood there, staring at the manager. I want to see who'll be begging for mercy later. Soon, the bank manager arrived. Upon hearing someone had fraudulently used their Supreme card, they rushed over immediately. From a distance, they spotted several security guards lying on the ground. Has the police been called? Tell them to hurry up. Also, notify the card owner to check if it was lost. This guy seems like a complete rogue. The bank manager walked over briskly and, taking in Yi Qiu's attire, narrowed his eyes. So, it's you, the one who stole the Supreme card? He started with this very sentence, as if judging from the attire of Yi Qiu and his daughter that they were thieves, robbers. We didn't steal anything, Xiaoyu shouted indignantly. We didn't. She knew they were poor, but she had learned since childhood not to steal or rob. They would never do such things. Learning to lie already, sneered the bank manager. Such a young child already knows how to lie. What a fine father you are, teaching her so well. He deliberately gave a thumbs up, dripping with sarcasm. Dragons beget dragons. Phoenixes beget phoenixes, and the offspring of rats know how to dig holes. Is thievery hereditary in your family too? The manager and waiter immediately approached. Hello, we're the ones who reported it. This guy stole the VIP card. Fortunately, we caught him in time to prevent your bank from suffering losses. The manager boasted. The bank representative nodded. Thank you. Good thing you were here to stop such opportunists from taking advantage. Yi Qiu still didn't speak, just gripped Yi Xiaoyu's hand tightly. As they spoke, everyone stared at Yi Qiu, ready for the police to arrive and take him away immediately. Soon, hurried footsteps echoed from the distance. Director, the Chu family had heard about the stolen card and came in person. Chapter 19. Dreaming. Chapter 19. Dreaming perfect. The Chu family head is here. The bank director nodded repeatedly and quickly turned to greet him. This was a great merit. He had recovered the losses and salvaged face for Chu Tiangang, who would surely express his gratitude. Even the children's clothing store manager and staff were visibly excited. Chu Tiangang was here. He was a major tycoon from Tianhai City. This very shopping mall was part of the Chu family's business empire. If Chu Tiangang was pleased with their exemplary service, he might just allocate them even better resources. The manager was certain he'd receive commendation from headquarters, perhaps even a promotion. Even the security guards scrambled to their feet, standing at attention, eager to make a good impression on Chu Tiangang. Patriarch Chu. The person in charge stepped forward, extending both hands for a handshake, but Chu Tiangang didn't even glance his way. Instead, he strode straight over to Yi Qiu. Seeing little Yuer with reddened, teary eyes brimming with grievances, Chu Tiangang felt a sharp pang in his heart. Master Chu, it's them. They stole your Supreme card, and we've caught them. The store manager hurriedly added, I notified the bank to intercept them here. Rest assured, Master Chu, that it didn't succeed. Indeed, Master Chu. The bank representative chimed in. You are our Supreme VIP client. It's our duty to protect your rights from infringement. These two will be handed over to us. The police will arrive shortly. They're going to be locked up. Them? Including Yi Xiaoyu? Were they all being arrested? The bank representative spoke without the slightest hint of mercy. Yi Qiu still didn't speak, just stared at Chu Tiangang with a gaze that made his heart tremble. He understood better than anyone what Yi Qiu was capable of. Lock him up, and dare to lock up Yi Xiaoyu too. Yi Xiaoyu was the person Yi Qiu cared about most in this world. Moreover, this card was something he'd insisted on giving to Yi Qiu himself. Never did he imagine it would cause such trouble, making even Yi Xiaoyu suffer indignities and cry. Chu Tiangang couldn't bear it himself. You're saying you want to lock them both up? His voice trembled slightly, entirely from rage. From the bank manager's perspective, Chu Tiangang's fury stemmed from his prestigious identity card being stolen by Yi Qiu. Exactly. He hastily added, please rest assured, Mr. Chu, even if this little girl is young now, she'll grow up to be a thief. We can't let this slide. Let's send her to juvenile detention. He knew full well what the bank was capable of. Chu Tiangang was truly enraged now. How dare they target even little Xiao Yuer, who is so young, sending her to juvenile detention? Will they try to ruin her life? Master Chu, leave this matter to us. You can rest assured. Rest assured my ass. Chu Tiangang suddenly roared, his eyes bulging so fiercely he nearly scared the bank manager to death. Even the shop owner, waitstaff, and those security guards were completely stunned. Dare lay a finger on them? I'll fucking end you. Chu Tiangang bellowed in fury. This card is his. He's no thief. His words made the bank manager's ears ring instantly, doubting he'd heard correctly, standing paralyzed for a long moment. Brother Yi, I'm truly sorry. I never expected something like this to happen. It's my fault for not handling it properly. Please don't be angry. Whatever you do, don't be angry. The surrounding crowd was completely bewildered. Was Chu Tiangang actually begging Yi Qiu for forgiveness? Was he apologizing to this thief? The bank manager felt as though he'd been struck by lightning, instantly realizing he'd made a terrible mistake. Little Yuer. Chu Tiangang crouched down, taking Yi Xiaoyu's small hands in his heart aching unbearably. Uncle was wrong to let you suffer like this. Did they bully you? Tell me, did they? Uncle? Everyone present was practically terrified to death, especially the children's clothing store manager, the staff, and the security guard who had just pushed Xiao. Their faces turned ashen with fear. Uncle, I don't want that dress anymore, okay? I don't want them to call me a thief. Xiaoyu could no longer hold back and burst into tears. Her sobs were like a sharp knife, stabbing straight into Chu Tiangang's heart. You handle this. Yi Qiu handed the card back to Chu Tiangang. I really don't deserve to use this card. Chu Tian just took a deep breath and stared at the card in his hand. He turned his head, glaring at the bank manager with a cold sneer. Did you just call my sworn brother you thief? Mr. Chu, this is a misunderstanding. I didn't know. The bank manager panicked, hastily trying to explain, but he couldn't find the right words. What he had just said was utterly heartless and immensely insulting. How could he have known that Yi Qiu's status was so terrifying? Even Chu Tiangang had to be this courteous to him. My sworn brother, how dare you humiliate him? If you look down on my brother, you're looking down on me. Chu Tiangang. Chu Tian had just taken out his phone and dialed the number directly. Immediately transfer all the deposits of Chu family's assets at Tianhai Bank. Leave not a single penny behind. Even my sworn brother, Yi, dares you offend, and you still expect me to cooperate with you? In your dreams. Boom. The bank manager felt like he was about to faint on the spot. The Chu family was withdrawing their capital. All of it was being transferred out. That was tens of billions. The bank lost its biggest client in an instant, and the headquarters knew it was his fault. They'd probably kill him for this. Mr. Chu, the bank manager's legs went weak, nearly collapsing to the ground. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please, I beg you, don't transfer the deposits away. It was my mistake. Don't apologize to me. You should be apologizing to them. Chu Tiangang roared furiously. The bank manager rushed over, stumbled and fell, but without hesitation crawled on his knees to Yi Qiu's feet. Mr. Yi, I'm sorry. Little miss, it was my fault. Please don't be angry. I beg you not to be angry. Yi Qiu remained expressionless. He hadn't forgotten how arrogantly this person had humiliated them just moments ago. Please forgive me. I truly know I was wrong. The manager wailed miserably. Losing a client like Chu Tiangang wouldn't just cost him his managerial position. It might mean he'd never work in the banking industry again for the rest of his life. I apologize to you. I'm sorry. So sorry. At this moment, he wouldn't just kneel. If only Yi Qiu would forgive him, he'd even kowtow without a single complaint. Yi Qiu saw through him completely. This wasn't a sincere apology at all. He was only bowing his head because his interests were at stake. When he had been humiliating Yi Qiu and bullying Xiao Yuer earlier, had he ever imagined things would come to this? Did you realize you were wrong when you bullied a child and kept calling my daughter a thief? Yi Qiu said coolly. There was no way he could ever forgive this manager. Hearing Yi Qiu's words, the bank manager seemed to have his soul instantly drained, sitting there dumbfounded. He knew he was finished. The children's clothing store manager and the staff were equally terrified, their souls nearly leaving their bodies. In the distance, the mall supervisor arrived and, upon seeing Chu Tiangang, hurriedly called out, "President Chu, what brings you here?" Chu Tiangang glanced at the supervisor with a cold gaze. "Was it you who allowed this children's clothing chain store to be set up here?" Chapter 20. Dare you crash into me? Hearing this, the supervisor immediately broke into a cold sweat. "Mr. Chu, it's my fault for not doing my job properly and failing in oversight. I'll immediately conduct a thorough investigation. In my opinion, not a single one of these disrespectful, uncivilized merchants who show no regard for customers deserves to remain in any of the Chu family shopping centers." Chu Tiangang pointed at the children's clothing store sign and declared, "Whether here in Tianhai or anywhere else across the province, no business under the Chu family's name will ever allow this brand to operate again." "Understood." "Yes, sir," the manager responded immediately. "I'll notify them right away to terminate the contract and have them removed from the mall." Hearing this, the children's clothing store manager immediately fainted from shock. There was no way he could compensate for the company's losses. Manager! The shop assistant was just as stunned, hurriedly supporting the manager while crying anxiously. How could she have known that her casual judgment would lead to such serious consequences? If the entire chain store got driven out, they'd truly be finished. Chu Tiangang's gaze finally settled on several security guards. Who was it that pushed my niece just now? His eyes were especially icy. The security guard who had taken action was trembling, his mouth agape, but not daring to speak. "Which hand?" Chu Tian roared. "Will you break it yourself, or shall I?" The guard paled in terror. "Forget it." Yi Qiu waved his hand dismissively, unwilling to escalate the matter further. The manager of the children's clothing store, as well as the bank's responsible parties, had indeed gone too far, but had already learned their lesson. As for these security guards, mere pawns at the bottom, just following orders, Yi Qiu saw no point in holding them accountable. He picked up little Yuera, wiping the tears from the corners of her eyes. "I'm sorry. It's Daddy's fault for making you suffer. Let's go." He stopped looking at clothes and left with little Yuera. Chu Tiangang swept a glance around, frightening everyone present into prolonged silence, then hurried after them. "Brother Yi, I don't know what to say, but I truly didn't handle this matter well. Please don't be angry." He sighed, never expecting such a thing to happen. "I'm fine. I just couldn't bear to see little Yuera cry," Yi Qiu said. Chu Tiangang nodded. Seeing Xiao Yu so heartbroken and crying so pitifully made him feel terrible too. Without a granddaughter of his own, seeing Xiao Yu was like seeing his own grandchild, and it pained him deeply. "Xiao Yu, are you mad at Uncle?" Xiao Yu shook her head. "Uncle has been good to me. I'm not angry. How would you be so sensible?" Chu Tiangang couldn't help but feel his eyes turning slightly red. "From now on, if anyone dares to bully you, Uncle won't allow it." Chu Tiangang thumped his chest and declared, "If anyone bullies you, you tell them Chu Tiangang is your uncle." "Remember that." "I remember," she replied. He reached out and gently patted Little Fish's head, slipping the bank card in her hand. "This is your pocket money from Uncle. Keep it safe." He knew Yi Qiu wouldn't accept anything more, but what he gave to Little Fish, Yi Qiu wouldn't object. "All right, I'll handle this matter. You two head back first and call me anytime if anything comes up," Chu Tiangang said. Yi Qiu nodded without another word, driving away with Little Fish in the car. "It seems I'll have to go back to the old house first to fetch some clothes. When Xiao Yu is in a better mood, I'll take her to buy new clothes." At that moment, Tianhai Bank was rocked As if by an earthquake, the Chu family withdrew all their funds from the bank, causing its stock to plummet instantly. Headquarters was already aware of the situation. Such a massive event nearly triggered a bank run, pushing the bank to the brink of a major crisis. The branch manager stood there, face pale as death, completely numb and at a loss for words, while several executives from headquarters berated him mercilessly. "You bastard, you nearly destroyed the whole bank. Do you really think you can mess with Chu Tiangang?" Now it's all set. The Chu family has withdrawn their investment, and several others close to them followed suit. Do you have any idea how much the bank stands to lose? The bank president slammed the table and cursed, wishing he could slap the responsible officer to death. If killing him would relieve Chu Tiangong's anger, he would absolutely be willing to do it. "I didn't know. I had no idea that guy was so powerful," the manager muttered. "How was I supposed to know? He dressed so plainly, yet he's actually Chu Tiangong's sworn brother." Sworn brother? That hardly covered it. He could even sense Chu Tiangong's deep reverence for Yi Qiu, though he dared not voice this observation. "What do we do now?" Someone spoke up. "If this situation keeps escalating, our bank's losses might reach astronomical figures. What else can we do?" "Apologize." The bank president's back heaved with anger. "Go find that Yi Qiu and apologize." He had already called Chu Tiangang, but Chu completely ignored him, hanging up straight away, still clearly in a towering rage. "You must undo the knot you tied. Solving this matter hinges entirely on Yi Qiu. As long as they could secure Yi Qiu's forgiveness, dealing with Chu Tiangang would become much easier, though their bank would undoubtedly have to pay a steep price." He cast a glance at the responsible manager. "That's it. You're done here too. Change careers. If you ever eat another meal in this industry, I'll write my name backwards from now on." After speaking, he ignored the completely devastated person in charge and prepared to set off personally to apologize to Yi Qiu. Meanwhile, Yi Qiu had taken Xiaoyu back to their old house. He picked out a few decent outfits for Xiaoyu to pack. "Can I take this doll with me?" In her arms, Xiaoyu held a slightly worn teddy bear, the only birthday gift Li Hongmei had ever given her, which had accompanied her to sleep every night. "Take it," said Yi Qiu. Father and daughter headed downstairs with their bags, only to find a sports car parked horizontally in front of their own vehicle, blocking them in. Yi Qiu walked up to the sports car and saw a phone number left behind, so he took out his phone and called it. "Hello, your car is blocking mine. Could you please come down and move it?" He was very polite. "Move what car? I'm busy now." The voice on the other end was extremely impatient. "Just wait." With that, the person hung up directly. Yi Qiu slightly frowned, glanced at Yi Xiaoyu, and called again. "I'm in a hurry to leave. Please come down and move your car. Besides, this isn't even a proper parking spot to begin with." The illegally parked car blocked his own way, and yet this was the attitude he got. Yi Qiu grew furious. "Who the hell do you think you are? I told you I'm busy. Can't you understand? I'll park wherever the hell I want. Got a problem with that?" On the other end of the line, the man ranted and raved, spewing a torrent of curses. "Blocking you? So what? What are you going to do about it? You got the balls. Why don't you just ram my car open? I dare you." With a loud smack, the call ended abruptly again. Yi Qiu hadn't expected such a response after trying to reason politely. The man was nothing but a shameless, unreasonable bully, acting as if driving a sports car made him untouchable. What a joke. He remained silent as he placed little Fish Yi into the child's seat and fastened her seatbelt. Then he started the car, pressed the accelerator pedal to the floor, and drove straight toward the Ferrari, ramming into it with full force. Chapter 21. Satisfied or not with a thunderous crash. The Ferrari's headlights shattered instantly, its side caved in, and a rapid series of alarm sirens blared out. Yi Qiu couldn't be bothered to acknowledge it, stepping on the gas and driving away without a second thought. After all, the Ferrari owner had asked for it. He had never encountered such a bizarre request in his life. Soon, someone approached from a distance, talking loudly on the phone. Don't worry. The bank loan has been approved, and the funds will be dispersed soon. Once the money comes through, I'll pay you back immediately." The Ferrari owner's face was full of smugness. "This is no small sum. I pulled a lot of strings to get it, using connections at the head office. Just trust me, I guarantee you'll make a solid profit." He was about to keep boasting, hoping to reel in even more investments from his friend, when his words suddenly cut off mid-sentence. "My car. Without another thought for the call, he rushed over to his Ferrari sports car, trembling with rage as he stared at the smashed and deformed front end. My car. Who the hell did this? Who did this? He turned around, roaring furiously like a mad lion, but no one paid him any attention. A Ferrari sports car. To think someone would smash it like this, and on purpose at that. The onlookers couldn't help but marvel at the audacity of whoever dared to pull off such a bold move. Watching the Ferrari owner wail hysterically, the bystanders could only keep their distance, secretly filming the scene with their phones to post online. It was something many had fantasized about, but never dared to do. Today, someone finally taught a lesson to that jerk who parked his luxury car wherever he pleased, inconveniencing everyone else. That felt so satisfying. The Ferrari owner's body trembled. The damage to his car was substantial, but more importantly, he couldn't swallow this humiliation. Recalling how someone had just called asking him to move his car, but was refused, it must have been that bastard. He immediately found the number and called back. Hey, the Ferrari owner roared. Was it you who hit my car? On the other end, Yichio couldn't be bothered to engage and simply hung up. So arrogant and domineering earlier, practically asking for it. Why wasn't he putting on a strong front now? The Ferrari owner never expected that after Yichio crashed in his car, the guy would dare hang up on him. He was so furious he nearly spat blood. He immediately traced the phone number to Yichio, obtained his home address, and decided to personally pay him a visit to settle the score. At the same time, the banking consortium's headquarters team was already en route to Yichio's home. They clearly understood. The reason Chu Tiangang was furious stemmed from the branch manager's offense against Yichio. To undo the bell, you must seek help from the one who tied it. Only by pacifying Yichio and securing his forgiveness could they hope to subsequently earn Chu Tiangang's pardon. Their sincerity was immense. Having found Yichio's address, several senior executives from the headquarters personally brought gifts and went to Yichio's home. Yichio had just arrived home not long ago and was preparing dinner for Xiao Yuer when a clamor arose outside the door. Get the hell out of my way. I'm looking for the owner of this car. Tell him to come out. Damn it, he hit my car and dared to run? I'll make him pay for this. The security guards were quite diligent, stopping the Ferrari owner from making a scene. But the Ferrari owner, used to being domineering, couldn't care less about these guards. Get lost, he roared. Piss me off, and I'll beat you to death. I've got plenty of money to cover your worthless lives. Suddenly, the door swung open. Yichio stepped out, waving the security guard away. He will be fine here. So, you the one who hit my car? Seeing Yichio dare to come out, the Ferrari owner sneered. Got some guts? Huh? Coming out like this? You think you're hot stuff? You're not kidding? Yichio said. They actually came knocking on our door. What, scared? The Ferrari owner snapped furiously. Why weren't you scared when you hit my damn car? I'm telling you, for this kind of thing, I don't even need to call the cops. I'll make you kneel and apologize to me with my own hands. Make you regret ever crossing me. He was about to charge forward, raising his fist to smash it fiercely into Yichio's face when, smack. But this slap landed squarely on the Ferrari owner's face. So forceful, it sent him sprawling to the ground. The Ferrari owner's head spun. He never expected Yichio would dare fight back. You hit me? Hitting you is exactly what I'm doing. Yichio retorted sharply. You've gotten used to throwing your weight around, thinking everyone should spoil you like your daddy? You parked like a fool and forced me to hit your car. What, didn't I crash into it hard enough for your taste? He snorted, completely indifferent. So what if he's a Ferrari owner? What does money matter anyway? Having already died once, Yichio now possessed extraordinary skills. His perspective and understanding of the world had long since transcended his past self. He would never allow anyone to bully him or his daughter. The Ferrari owner, utterly enraged, struggled to stand up and prepared to charge at Yichio again. Stop right there. Suddenly, an angry shout came from behind. Whoever dares interfere will get beaten too. The Ferrari owner was shouting arrogantly, but when he turned his head, he instantly deflated, his voice trembling. President Fong. How could it be you? He hurried over, forcing an awkward smile. President Fong, what brings you here? You are. Fong Yang didn't even glance at him, walking straight to Yichio instead and giving a slight bow. You must be Mr. Yichio. What do you want? Yichio replied indifferently. He didn't recognize Fong Yang before him, nor did he care about Fong Yang's status. Even if he were the Emperor of Heaven himself, there was no need for courtesy now. My sincerest apologies, Mr. Yi. I'm Fong Yang, president of Tianhai Bank's headquarters. I've learned about the offense caused by our branch manager and have come specifically to apologize today. Fong Yang was extremely polite, not daring to show the slightest arrogance. The Yi Qiu before him was Chu Tiangong's sworn brother, and possibly someone with an even more formidable hidden status than Chu Tiangang himself. He had to tread carefully. I'm busy. Yi Qiu shook his head, glancing at the Ferrari owner. This guy's causing me trouble. I need to deal with him first. Hearing this, the Ferrari owner froze, his Adam's apple bobbing as his mind suddenly went completely blank. He had never seen the president of Tianhai Bank show such deference to anyone before. In fact, he himself had been trying to get an appointment with the president for over 6 months without success. And now, Fong Yang had actually taken the initiative to personally visit and apologize to Yi Qiu. Just who the hell was Yi Qiu? At Yi Qiu's words, Fong Yang turned and glanced at the Ferrari owner. A senior executive immediately stepped forward and whispered something in Fong Yang's ear, to which Fong Yang nodded in acknowledgement. Mr. Yi, let me handle this inconvenience here first. Could you spare me 2 minutes afterward to let me explain? Yi Qiu glanced at the Ferrari owner and replied impassively, that depends on whether your handling of this matter satisfies me or not. Chapter 22. Cutting off someone's livelihood is like killing their parents. Having said this, Yi Qiu fell silent. Fong Yang understood immediately. He turned his gaze toward the Ferrari owner. In his eyes, whether someone drove a Ferrari or any other sports car meant nothing at all. When it came to discerning who truly had money, who didn't, and who could impact the bank, no one knew better than they did. The person before them was someone who needed a favor from their bank. President Fong, this is all a misunderstanding. The Ferrari owner broke into a cold sweat upon hearing Yi Qiu's words. He never imagined that Yi Qiu turned out to be such an important figure. Even the president of Tianhai Bank's headquarters treated him with such respect. A misunderstanding? Fong Yang said indifferently, I don't see any misunderstanding. All I see is your arrogant and aggressive behavior. I have reasonable grounds to suspect that the substantial loan you obtained from our bank would be used for improper purposes. Oh no. Please, President Fong. The Ferrari owner panicked, nearly on the verge of tears. He was counting on this loan to turn things around. If the funding chain completely snapped, his business would be doomed. Hell, he wouldn't even be able to afford repairs for that second-hand Ferrari. Call the credit department manager. Regarding his loan, headquarters needs to conduct a thorough review. No disbursement is permitted until the risk assessment is cleared. Fong Yang issued the order coldly. Understood. Hearing this, the Ferrari owner's face turned ashen, as if his soul had been instantly drained from his body. He was on the verge of tears. How bitterly he regretted it. Arrogant by nature, he had always thought himself invincible. Who could have imagined he'd kick an iron plate today? Not the slightest thought of revenge remained in his mind now. When even the president of Tianhai Bank had to treat this person with deference, what means did he have to seek retaliation? Are you trying to smash an egg against a rock? What? Still don't want to leave? Do you want me to veto your loan right here and now? Seeing the Ferrari owner still standing there, Fong Yang frowned. No, I'm leaving right now. I'm going right away. The Ferrari owner was utterly panicked. Wait. Fong Yang stopped him. Did you just ask Mr. Yi to fix your car? No, nothing like that. I crashed it by mistake. It has nothing to do with him. Absolutely nothing at all. The Ferrari owner hastily explained. I'll fix it myself. I wouldn't dare trouble Mr. Yi. With that, he immediately scurried away dejectedly. For handling people like him, Fong Yang, a high-ranking bank executive, was the most suitable. After all, these people had houses and cars mostly financed through loans, and even their side businesses required bank borrowing. How could they dare offend someone like Fong Yang? Mr. Yi, Fong Yang said with a smile, may I now have a few minutes of your time to offer my sincere apology? Such minor troubles could surely be resolved even without his involvement, but for some random nobodies, there's no need for Yi Qiu to dirty his hands personally. No need for apologies. Yi Qiu waved his hand dismissively. Those who did wrong should simply bear the appropriate consequences. Let me remind you something. he said. As part of the service industry, you should at least maintain basic respect for people. Don't judge by appearances, and certainly don't act all high and mighty, bullying others at will. Yes, sir. Fang Yang nodded solemnly. Mr. Yi is absolutely right. I'm deeply ashamed, and will take this as a stern warning. Thank you for helping us uncover this serious flaw in our management. I'm truly grateful. He picked up a gift box and handed it to Yi Qiu with both hands. Mr. Yi, this is a small token of my personal regard, he said. I hope you'll accept it. I'd very much like to be friends with you. He was clever enough not to say this was a gift from the bank standpoint, but framed it as his own personal gesture. Yi Qiu was initially reluctant to accept it, but Fang Yang insisted. It's nothing extravagant, but I believe your daughter would appreciate it. Hearing this, Yi Qiu no longer refused. Thank you. You're too kind, Mr. Yi. Fang Yang saw that Yi Qiu wasn't pressing the matter further and finally breathed a sigh of relief. If there's nothing else, I won't disturb Mr. Yi any longer. I'll pay another visit another day. Yi Qiu nodded slightly. He had to admit, this Fang Yang handled matters flawlessly, what you'd expect from the president of a major bank. His social graces were truly incomparable to ordinary people's. After Fang Yang and his companions left, Yi Qiu finally returned to the house. Dad, who was it? Yi Xiaoyu looked up and asked. Just some friends, Yi Qiu replied with a smile. Seeing the gift box in Yi Qiu's hand, Yi Xiaoyu immediately climbed down from the sofa and scurried over barefoot with pattering steps. What's this? Her eyes asked Yi Qiu if she could open it. Knowing Xiaoyu's curiosity, Yi Qiu unwrapped the gift box to reveal several incredibly beautiful dresses inside. Wow! Xiaoyu's eyes sparkled as she bounced up and down. Such pretty dresses. These were even more beautiful than the ones she'd seen at the mall, sparkling like princess ball gowns. Do you like it? Yi Qiu knew he was asking a question whose answer was obvious. Yes, yes. Yi Xiaoyu nodded eagerly. Dad, is this from your friend? Yeah. Yi Qiu handed the dress to Xiao Yuer. Put it on and see if it fits. Xiao Yuer quickly ran back to her room to change her dress. Moments later, she emerged looking like a beautiful princess, utterly adorable. Fang Yang truly has an eye for picking things. Yi Qiu couldn't help but silently admire. Does it look nice, Dad? It looks beautiful, my precious daughter. You're the prettiest girl in the world, Yi Qiu said with a smile. Little Fish was overjoyed, holding the hem of her dress as she twirled and danced, humming a song, the very picture of the happiest child in the world. Seeing this, Yi Qiu's mood similarly brightened. Meanwhile, in a certain building in Tianhai City, Chu Tiangang really hit the jackpot. How could something like this happen to him? Damn it, we lost billions on this project. The middle-aged man sitting there was taking deep drags from his cigarette, the ashtray in front of him already overflowing. His bloodshot eyes brimmed with resentment and fury. This project was originally his. Not only had he defeated Chu Tiangang, but would also have brought enormous profits to the group company. But due to continuous mishaps, the group demanded he withdraw to cut their losses. Who could have guessed Chu Tiangang would take it back, and at such a ridiculously low price? With this turnaround, he effortlessly saved over $1 billion. He had intended to watch the spectacle, waiting to see Chu Tiangang suffer another heavy loss after flipping the project. Who would have thought the project would proceed so smoothly, as if heaven itself were assisting Chu Tiangang? How could he possibly accept this? Boss Lei, isn't it strange? When we took on this project, accidents happened daily, even resulting in deaths. Yet now that Chu Tiangang is handling it, why is there not a single issue? How should I know? Lei Song snorted in frustration, feeling spooked by the whole situation. I did hear, though, that Chu Tiangang hired a feng shui master, someone exceptionally skilled. Could this so-called master be interfering and sabotaging our efforts? Lei Song's expression darkened immediately upon hearing this. So, someone had been scheming against him in secret. Blocking someone's wealth is akin to killing their parents? You found out who did this. Chapter 23, Testing the Waters. Chapter 23, Testing the Waters. The losses this time amounted to billions. No small sum by any measure, enough to drive men mad with greed. The most crucial point is Tianhai. Everyone knows their company has always been in competition with Chu Tiangang, with the two bosses taking turns at the top spot. But if Chu Tiangang successfully pulls off this project, it'll be nearly impossible for them to turn the tables. We're still investigating. President Lei, don't worry. The man sitting opposite, noticing Lei Song's intense concern, promptly said, we just need to test that so-called master. His true nature will reveal itself. Then, we'll still have a chance. Lei Song nodded. He immediately called the finance department. Transfer 1 million into Mr. Chi's account first. Hearing this, Chi narrowed his eyes and chuckled. President Lei, you're being too generous. He knew Lei Song had always been a decisive man who acted swiftly and without hesitation. This time, he directly offered $1 million up front. Clearly, he was hell-bent on securing this project. Mr. Chi, I'll leave this matter to you, Lei Song said. I don't care about the process, just deliver results. If the funds fall short, come to me. That won't be an issue. If I can't have this project, he added, then neither can Chu Tiangang. Understood. Crystal clear. Chi stood up. Don't worry, I'll definitely handle this matter for you. No matter what background that so-called master has, when he comes to Tianhai, even if he's a dragon, he'll have to coil up here. With that, he immediately turned and left. Lei Song lit another cigarette, still visibly agitated. He knew Chi Yun was a ruthless man, cold-blooded and vicious. Over the years, there hadn't been a single task entrusted to him that he couldn't accomplish. His hands were even stained with plenty of blood. But this time, he couldn't shake the feeling that things might get complicated. Chu Tiangang had never been easy to deal with. He wasn't someone who could simply be overpowered by brute force. I can't count on Chi Yun to snatch the project back, but sabotaging it so Chu Tiangang can't have it either. That shouldn't be too hard, right? Lei Song thought to himself. As long as the two companies remained on the same level and starting line, there wouldn't be much of a problem. This match ended in a draw. There'll be plenty of chances to settle it later. Yichio's thoughts were now entirely focused on his daughter. To him, little Yue was his everything, his entire world. After school at the kindergarten, Yichio stood in line at the gate, waiting to pick up Yi Xiaoyu. Mr. Yi, please go ahead. After you. That's Xiaoyu's dad. My child and Xiaoyu are good friends. Every day after school, my kid says how pretty Xiaoyu is. Xiaoyu is truly adorable. You've raised her well, Mr. Yi. Many parents greeted him enthusiastically, their warmth practically palpable. Yichio smiled and exchanged a few brief responses before falling silent. He wasn't particularly fond of these polite formalities. Daddy! The kindergarten gate opened, and Yi Xiaoyu was the first to rush out, stretching her arms wide to throw herself at Yichio. I missed you. With a smacking sound, she planted a juicy kiss on Yichio's cheek. Daddy, can we have hamburgers for dinner tonight, please? Oh, so now I see. That kiss came with an ulterior motive. Yichio scooped her up in his arms. Not simply because you missed me, huh? Not true at all. Xiaoyu kissed him again. See, doesn't this prove I missed you? Yichio burst into laughter. All right, let's go get some. He let little fish ride on his shoulders, and the father-daughter duo happily walked away, singing songs. Meanwhile, Chu Tiangang hadn't expected the project to encounter trouble. But clearly, this wasn't a natural disaster. It was deliberate sabotage. They've all been sent to the hospital and are stable for now, but this is no minor issue. It's already affecting the project timeline. How could they all get poisoned? Has the cafeteria been investigated? Was there something wrong with the ingredients? Chu Tiangang frowned. This project is absolutely critical. We either don't do it at all, or since we've started, there could be no mistakes. We've checked, and everything seems fine. That's why we're puzzled. President Chu. Could it be? The subordinate wanted to suggest. Could it be that the unclean thing is still lingering? Invite Brother Yi over. Chu Tiangang now placed complete trust in Yichio. If Yichio came, there would surely be a solution. Understood. Soon, Yichio arrived with Xiaoyu, who was happily munching on a hamburger she held in her hand. Oh my little darling, you like eating this? Chu Tiangang took one glance and immediately waved his hand, summoning the butler. Have the chef make fresh ones for Xiaoyu, prepare a few delicious flavors, and let her try them all. The food outside is so unhygienic. From now on, if you want to eat this, just come to Uncle's house. Chu Tiangang pinched Xiaoyu's cheek and let her go play in the manor. Brother Yi, I need to trouble you with something again. He didn't stand on ceremony and recounted the matter, his face clouded with worry. This project is absolutely crucial. Once we commence, Failure isn't an option because the losses would be catastrophic. Is everyone poisoned? Yi Qiu asked, visibly startled. He had visited the project site's canteen before. Everything strictly adhered to standards, especially hygiene. Chu Tiangang's requirements were particularly stringent since he was somewhat of a cleanliness fanatic himself. How could there possibly be consecutive cases of mass food poisoning? Exactly, Chu Tiangang replied. The hospital confirmed food poisoning in all cases, but we've checked. The ingredients were completely fine. That's why it's so puzzling. Chu Tiangang speculated. Could it be? No, Yi Qiu shook his head. Those things are more trustworthy than people. Chu Tiangang nodded. Then what could be the reason? In that case, I'll go to the hospital with you. It's too much trouble for you. Yi Qiu and Chu Tiangang, along with several other managers, immediately rushed to Tianhai First Hospital. Upon hearing that Yi Qiu had arrived, Gao Qiao, who was supposed to be off today, immediately rushed from home to the hospital to have a good chat with Yi Qiu in person. In the ward, Yi Qiu examined several patients and slightly frowned. This is poisoning, but not food poisoning. His words made the accompanying doctor freeze for a moment, then frown slightly, as if thinking Yi Qiu was being somewhat presumptuous. Without checking the biochemical test results or analyzing the vomit, how could he determine the condition just by feeling the pulse and taking a quick look? Mr. Yi, you'll have to take responsibility for what you just said. The doctor couldn't help but retort. Yi Qiu glanced at him. You're new here, aren't you? The doctor was taken aback. What did being new have to do with this? Yi Qiu, before the doctor could respond, Gao Qiao strode in briskly, pointing at the doctor. Don't mind him. He really is new. Old Gao. Seeing Gao Qiao arrive and recognizing Yi Qiu, the doctor couldn't help but feel a sudden unease in his heart. Could it be that the man before him was none other than that renowned miracle doctor? That master whose medical skills were so extraordinary that even experts like Old Gao and others were desperate to recruit him into their hospital? You can question anyone else, even me if you must, but don't you dare question Yi Qiu. Gao Qiao said sternly. Understood. Yes, Old Gao. My apologies for being presumptuous. The doctor quickly apologized. Mr. Yi, I'm truly sorry. I shouldn't have questioned you. Though he spoke these words reluctantly, deep down, he was extremely unwilling. Chapter 24. I also know who he is. Chapter 24. I also know who he is, but with Gao Qiao present, he dare not say anything. Hadn't the former chief surgeon Luo Ping been dismissed precisely because he offended Yi Qiu? Yi Qiu had no patience to deal with such a novice. It's not food poisoning, this is metal poisoning. After careful examination, Gao Qiao reached the same conclusion. Hearing this, Chu Tiangang felt a sudden pang of apprehension. What does that mean? He was somewhat confused. Both were cases of poisoning. Was there really any difference between food poisoning and metal poisoning? Yi Qiu and Gao Qiao exchanged a glance. Food poisoning victims are usually accidental cases, caused by tainted ingredients. But metal poisoning? Gao Qiao paused. Should we call the police? Hearing the word police, Chu Tiangang instantly understood. Someone had deliberately poisoned them. How ruthless! A thought quickly crossed his mind. It must be his competitors, unhappy that he had effortlessly reclaimed this project once again. Unable to accept such a smooth outcome, wouldn't they resort to sabotage? But poisoning, what a despicable and outrageous move. Brother Yi, what do you think we should do? Instead of deciding on his own, Chu Tiangang turned to Yi Qiu. I'll take care of this matter, came the reply. Yi Qiu thought it over and decided not to inform Zhao Jinlin for now. This was just a minor matter. Once they caught the person, they could notify Zhao Jinlin to send someone to take them away. Old Gao, I'll trouble you to keep an eye on these few people, he said to Gao Qiao. Don't worry, I'll naturally pay extra attention to what you've asked of me. Gao Qiao nodded. He was more than happy that Yi Qiu was willing to seek his help. With that, Yi Qiu and Chu Tiangang left. In the car, Chu Tiangang's expression darkened with anger. How shameless! They actually resorted to poisoning. Aren't they afraid of killing someone? Chu Tiangang was truly infuriated that they would stoop to such despicable acts for the sake of business. This method of poisoning is very subtle. Ordinary people wouldn't notice it because the effects don't appear immediately. But once the toxins accumulate, not even a divine healer could cure it. Yi Qiu also found this behavior despicable. Moreover, They're doing it in batches, gradually increasing the dosage. Their goal is to make your project suffer repeated incidents, just like theirs, until it becomes impossible to continue. What skillful methods, not only ruthlessly cruel, but also extremely well hidden. Even the poison delivery was extraordinarily covert. Had he not possessed eyes capable of seeing human meridians, he likely wouldn't have detected it so easily. The two soon arrived at the construction site. Just as Ichio had instructed, Chu Tiangang immediately ordered the water spray trucks to be activated, continually misting back and forth across the grounds. All material transport vehicles had to pass through water pools to wash their wheels and other parts, ensuring everything remained damp. You'd never guess where they hid the poison powder, he said. Keeping the air humid to prevent the dust from dispersing is simply the best solution. Yichio explained. Understand, Chu Tian nodded. If it hadn't been for Yichio, they likely wouldn't have discovered the cause, let alone come up with a solution immediately. Quite a few people had gathered around. Amid the crowd, a pair of eyes glared fixedly at Yichio, standing there. Seeing everyone's attention focused on Yichio and his companions, he took out his phone, snapped a photo of Yichio, and immediately sent it out. Mr. Qi, we've identified him. This is the so-called master who helped Chu Tiangang. He posted the photo and immediately edited the caption. As soon as he finished, he looked up, only to find Yichio standing right in front of him. He jumped in fright, visibly flustered. WH, what are you doing? Give it to me. Yichio fixed him with a glare and stretched out his hand. Your phone. Hand it over. Yichio's senses were razor sharp now, and he could tell this guy had just taken his photo with the phone. What are you talking about? You lunatic. The man's expression immediately changed upon hearing this, instantly switching to a domineering and unreasonable demeanor. Who the hell do you think you are? You think I'll just hand over my phone because you say so? His reaction only confirmed Yichio's suspicion even more. This guy had indeed taken his photo and sent it to someone. Clearly, this was the mole planted by the mastermind behind the scenes. You took my photo. Who were you planning to send it to? The same person who poisoned the other workers. Yichio's sharp shout made the man tremble uncontrollably, panic flooding his face. What nonsense are you spouting? I have no idea what you're talking about. With that, he turned to flee, only to have Yichio grab him by the shoulder. Let go, he roared, swinging a fist aimed straight at Yichio's head. Smack! Yichio effortlessly caught the punch and twisted his arm backward, immediately drawing pained howls from the man. Stop, please stop, he screamed as Yichio applied just enough pressure to threaten breaking his arm. Why you have no right to search my phone? I'm going to sue you. Quite the legal expert. Yichio scoffed. If I've wronged you, I'll accept whatever punishment you demand. With that, Chu Tiangang immediately had someone retrieve the phone. When opened, the screen displayed the very message that had just been sent. At one glance, Chu Tiangang's face darkened completely, his rage erupting. How dare you? He had always been good to his subordinates, offering the best salaries in the industry. Yet this very person had colluded with outsiders to poison his own colleagues. Now he's even taken Yichio's photos. What does he want to do? Take revenge on Yichio? Director Chu, No need to explain. Chu Tiangang had no patience for excuses. Call the police. You can explain yourself to them. Mr. Chu. No. Please. Mr. Chu, I was wrong. Spare me. Have mercy on me. The man pleaded desperately. If he were to be arrested, it would be his ruin. Colluding with others to poison someone was a crime. After all, take him away, Chu Tiangang shouted. He turned to Yichio. What do we do now? They're probably coming after you. This is all my fault. He felt remorseful for asking Yichio to help him, never expecting it would instead draw Yichio into danger. Yichio glanced at the phone number. They were testing the waters, trying to figure out who's helping you solve problems. Now they know it's me. But now I know who he is too. He took the phone, typed another message, and sent it. On the other end of the phone, Qian looked at Yichio's photo and slightly frowned. So young? What kind of master is this? Probably just another fraud. Though spotting my poisoning method does show some skill. Yet he didn't take Yichio seriously at all. As long as he could identify who Yichio was, then things would be easy to handle. He believed in one principle. If you can't solve a problem, then eliminate the person causing it. Since this Yichio has always been helping Chu Tiangang, as long as he's dealt with, Chu Tiangang will have no one else around to oppose him anymore. He must prove to Lei Song that having him on board will make everything twice as effective, and no one will be able to hinder any of his plans. Qian glanced at the text message he had just received. Such a perfect opportunity. Then don't blame me for being ruthless with you. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for meddling in others' affairs. Chapter 25. This month's performance is secured. Chapter 25. This month's performance is secured based on the intel from his planet informant. Chu Tiangang would be treating Yi Qiu to dinner that evening. Once the meal ended, it would be the perfect opportunity to strike. Qian was no stranger to such dealings. This was his line of work. Take the money, solve the problem. Inside a pool hall, the air was thick with smoke. The swirling haze was enough to make non-smokers dizzy upon entering. Brother Qi's here. Hey, Brother Qi. Several people greeted Qian. He nodded in response and stepped into a nearby office. On the sofa inside sat a man with a large head and fleshy ears, leisurely brewing tea. Seeing Qian arrive, he grinned and said, "Got another job for us?" Qian took a seat. Taking care of a fraud shouldn't be too hard, right? A fraud? The fat man chuckled. Seen plenty of those. The type that specializes in swindling rich folks. Smart. Qian didn't beat around the bush. 500,000. After the job's done, there might be extra. How much depends on how clean your work is. Hearing there was a reward of 500,000, the fat man's eyes lit up. This was no small sum. It would last them quite a while for lavish spending. Qian was equally straightforward, opening the bag he brought, which was filled to the brim with bundles of bright red banknotes. Without money, these men wouldn't be motivated to lift a finger. But once they saw cash, they could be more ruthless than anyone. The time, location, and target's photo, everything's handed to you. Get the job done clean, no loose ends. Qian said, "Relax, it's not our first time working together. Don't you trust me?" The fat man glanced at the photo. This milk-fed kid certainly had some nerve, daring to scam a big shot like Chu Tiangang. Quite impressive indeed. Qian said nothing more and left after giving brief instructions. Such matters were never dealt with personally by him. The dirty and heavy work was left to the fat man and his crew. All he needed to do was lay out the plans and coordinate. In Tianhai's underground circles, few still engaged in their line of work. Other big shots had gradually shifted to running legitimate businesses, trying to clean up their reputations. But Qian still believed this old trade suited him best. With fewer people in the game, competition was lighter. Hey! The fat man clapped his hands as he stepped outside. "Knock it off, boys. We've got work to do." That evening, as planned, Chu Tiangang arranged a dinner. He had originally intended to invite Yi Qiu for a home-cooked meal, but instead, he opted for a casual restaurant near the project site. Should I arrange for more people to tag along? Chu Tiangang was a bit uneasy. Yi Qiu was indeed extraordinary in terms of medical skills, with remarkable abilities, but Chu Tiangang had never seen him in action when dealing with those low-life thugs. If anything went wrong, it wouldn't be a joke. "No need," Yi Qiu said. "If there are too many of us, they wouldn't dare make a move. These people are acting cautiously. Their careful demeanor clearly marks them as habitual offenders, professionals in this line of work. If he had brought more people with him, they definitely wouldn't have dared strike so easily. To catch them in the act, you first had to draw them out of hiding." Seeing the time was about right, he began deliberately playing along with Chu Tian just as they walked downstairs. "Mr. Yi, won't you stay for another drink? Why leave so early? I really must head back now. Then let me have my driver take you back." "No need. I'd rather walk alone." Yi Qiu left the hotel alone and strolled along the road. Under the night sky, no one else could be seen on the street. Such a somewhat remote place naturally had sparse foot traffic. Instead, Yi Qiu headed towards the dimly lit areas. From a distance, a car slowly followed him, its headlights off. He's gonna take a piss, right? Always sneaking into dark corners. Get ready to strike. After drinking, no one can hold their bladder forever, can they? The car door flung open as 6 masked figures in black hoods sprinted toward Yi Qiu's direction. Through the darkness, the glint of weapons clenched in their hands was visible. Sure enough, the rustling sound of water came from beneath the trees. The lead thug, a stout man, flashed a ruthless glint in his eyes and gestured. Immediately, 5 or 6 men fanned out to encircle their target. They absolutely couldn't let their prey escape. Otherwise, that 500,000 bounty would slip through their fingers. Seeing Yi Qiu utterly unresponsive, as if drunk and slow to react, the burly man lunged forward with startling agility that defied his bulky frame. He gripped the dagger tightly and thrust it toward Yi Qiu's waist. The men behind him closed in simultaneously, aiming to end Yi Qiu's life in the shortest time possible. But suddenly, Yi Qiu turned his head. Those eyes of his, bright as stars in the darkness, shone with terrifying intensity. The moment Yi Qiu's gaze landed on the burly man, the latter felt his heart drop as if plunging into an endless abyss, his movements turning sluggish in an instant. Boom! Before he could react, Yi Qiu's fist slammed into his chest, sending him flying dozens of meters away. Ah! The fat man screamed in agony, startling the others. He's a trained fighter. Kill him! Someone shouted, and 5 or 6 men charged forward simultaneously, their daggers aiming straight for Yi Qiu's body. Bang! 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 Yet with several dull thuds, the 6 men were sent flying again, crashing heavily onto the ground, howling in pain. Their arms had been broken by Yi Qiu, leaving them curled up on the ground, writhing and wailing in agony. Ah! My hand! My hand is broken! Run! Get out of here! Ah! Only then did they realize that Yi Qiu was no ordinary man. With just a few of them, they stood no chance against him. That bastard Qi Yun, didn't he claim this guy was just a common con artist? With skills like that, how the hell is he a con artist? The fat man struggled to his feet, and, seeing Yi Qiu standing there without giving chase, didn't hesitate any longer. Clutching his fractured limb, he fled in sheer panic. The others wanted to run, but it was already too late. Catch them! A commanding voice rang out from the woods, followed swiftly by several plainclothes officers who dashed out and subdued the men. The fat man was so terrified he nearly lost his soul, fleeing like a madman before tumbling straight down the hillside. No need to chase him, Yi Qiu called out as Zhao Jianlin moved to pursue. He won't get far. The wounds on his body, only I can treat them. He'll come looking for me, Yi Qiu said, his eyes gleaming like stars. Zhao Jianlin nodded slightly. Even someone as experienced and unflappable as him found his mind shaken when meeting Yi Qiu's piercing gaze. This was what true vitality in the eyes looked like. Captain Zhao, these 2 are fugitives we've been pursuing. A subordinate reported, approaching. Never thought we'd actually catch them today. They'd worked countless overtime hours chasing these criminals, yet leads had remained elusive until now. Thanks to Yi Qiu, they finally completed their mission. See, all of us hit our monthly targets. Zhao Jianlin smiled at Yi Qiu and said, Tell me, how should I thank you? Chapter 26, Walking into the Trap. Since when do we stand on ceremony? Yi Qiu smiled and said, If you really want to thank me, then catch more of these societal scum. Let's make our city a better place. Good. Zhao Jianlin nodded. Did everyone hear Brother Ye's words? We did. The group's spirits lifted. Ever since Zhao Jianlin met Yi Qiu, their work had become noticeably easier. Where they once feared getting injured, Yi Qiu's medical skills now gave them immense confidence. Take them back for thorough interrogation. Yes, sir. Several individuals were escorted away. Zhao Jianlin walked outside with Yi Qiu to find the fat man had already vanished, not even managing to drive away the counterfeit license vehicle. Yi Qiu, I need to give you a warning. He lit a cigarette and said meaningfully, Old brother, I know you're not one to show off, but with your extraordinary skills, there's no hiding them forever. That's how people are. With great ability comes great rewards for oneself. But at the same time, it's easy to provoke jealousy and resentment. You'd better be mentally prepared. Yi Qiu nodded. Of course he knew this. Especially in recent times, his life had already undergone earth-shaking changes. All because he now possessed astonishing medical skills and formidable combat abilities. Thanks for the heads up, Brother Zhao. I'll be careful. I wasn't reminding you. Zhao Jianlin laughed and scolded. What do you have to worry about, kid? I'm concerned about Xiao Yuer's safety. This was indeed a problem. Yi Qiu couldn't always be by Xiao Yuer's side. She was just a child who needed to live a normal life, make friends, play happily. She couldn't spend her days surrounded by danger. Yi Qiu frowned slightly as a sudden flash of insight crossed his mind, something fleeting that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Yes, I understand. He nodded. I know what to do. All right, as long as you understand. Don't hesitate to ask if you need any help from me. Yeah, I won't hold back. Yi Qiu had saved Zhao Jianlin twice, and had even helped him several times since then. To Zhao Jianlin, Yi Qiu was not only highly capable, but also a genuinely good person. Such qualities would earn his respect, even if Yi Qiu had never saved his life. Zhao Jianlin went off to attend to his duties. Yi Qiu also called Gao Qiao, instructing him to notify him immediately if anyone showed up with bizarre injuries. The fat man was genuinely scared out of his wits. Little did he know, this was a trap. The investigative squad was already there. His few brothers were caught in the net, and now they likely had no chance of getting out again. If he hadn't reacted quickly, he'd be dead today too. Bang! The fat man slammed his fist onto the table, the pain making every ounce of his flesh tremble. Old Qi, how do you explain this to me? It hurts. He didn't know how many bones he'd broken, but this was pain unlike anything he'd ever experienced before. Not even worse injuries in the past had been this unbearable. He called Qian over, and Qiyun was also startled. How could this happen? You asking me? The fat man snarled. Who the hell am I supposed to ask then? That bastard called the cops ages ago. This is a setup. Are you fucking screwing me over on purpose? We're in the same damn boat. Screwing you means screwing myself. Qiyun's face darkened. Looks like the guy I bribed got caught. He must have used that guy's phone to trick me. Damn it. After decades of hunting eagles, today I got my eyes pecked out by one instead. The fat man slumped on the sofa, his body convulsing as the pain grew increasingly intense. Even the painkillers he'd taken were useless. Quick, get old Lu here. He gritted his teeth, voice trembling. This wound looks pretty bad. Qian couldn't be bothered with any further delay and immediately summoned their collaborating private physician. After examining for quite some time, old Lu kept shaking his head. This injury is strange. I can't handle it. You'll have to go to the hospital. Damn it, how am I supposed to get to the hospital? The authorities must be hunting for him right now. The fat man growled. If you don't go to the hospital, you might die. Old Lu could only shrug helplessly. Your bone fracture is strangely unusual. I've never seen anything like it. We need to hurry. Otherwise, not even a god could save you. With that, he left. The fat man had no choice and turned to Qian. I'll take you there. Qian wasn't afraid. He had a legitimate identity and could move freely outside. Besides, the fat man had worn a hood before taking action earlier that night. There was no way Yi Qiu and his people could have seen his face. He immediately helped the chubby man into the car and headed straight for the best hospital. The two quickly arrived at the hospital but found nothing unusual. The emergency department at night only had young doctors on duty. How did you get this injury? It's really strange, the young doctor said, shaking his head after examining the wound. I can't treat this. The chubby man was nearly in tears. How strange could an injury from a single punch by Yi Qiu possibly be? Why do all these doctors keep saying they can't handle it? Then who can? Qian frowned. It's just two broken bones. Shouldn't resetting them be simple? How could it be so difficult to treat? I'm afraid we'll need to call on our hospital's specialist, the young doctor said. But at this late hour, isn't the patient's life important? Qian immediately roared. Get your specialist here now. Hurry. Money is no object. All right, I'll make the call. Two people sat in the emergency room. The chubby man was nearly passing out from the pain, his face pale and his whole body trembling violently. He felt as though something was constantly rubbing against the fractured bone in his wound, an agony beyond description. Has he arrived? The stout man asked weakly. Has the expert arrived? Qian roared in frustration, utterly baffled. He couldn't fathom how he'd been fooled by Yi Qiu. He was certain his tracks had been covered perfectly. Once he finished dealing with Fatty's matter, he would surely strike back. He would make Yi Qiu pay for daring to provoke him. Coming. A voice sounded in the hallway. The fat guy trembled. This voice sounded somewhat familiar. Struggling to lift his head slightly, he took a look. The moment he saw Yi Qiu approaching, his entire body went numb, his mouth agape as he struggled to even form words. Why you? Why is it you? Qian also caught sight of Yi Qiu's face and instantly paled, immediately realizing this was still a trap. Escape. His first instinct was to flee. Without a second thought, he shoved the fat guy to the ground and turned to bolt out the back door. Freeze! But someone was already blocking the exit. Qi Yin was shocked. He gritted his teeth, wanting to charge forward. But the sight of those pitch-black gun barrels instantly trained on him made his defiance vanish in an instant. "Don't hit me! Don't hit me!" he hastily shouted, obediently crouching down with his hands covering his head, his movements practiced and smooth. He turned to glare at Yi Qiu, grinding his teeth in hatred. Never did he imagine he'd been outwitted by Yi Qiu twice in a row. Now he'd even walked right into the trap himself. This grudge won't be forgotten. Qi Yin stared daggers at Yi Qiu, his voice dripping with venom. Chapter 27. Runes. His eyes burned with feral intensity, like a madman's. "You have a daughter, right? Seems like she's quite adorable. There must be times when you're not by her side. Just wait till I'm out. I'll show you how." Before Qi Yin could finish his threat, a plainclothes officer punched him hard. "Get down. Stay still. How dare you threaten people at a time like this?" He obediently laid down with a sinister grin, but his eyes remained viciously fixed on Yi Qiu. Yi Qiu glanced at him and paid no further attention. He walked up to the fat man, who recoiled in fright but couldn't move due to the pain. "Don't move." Yi Qiu placed his palm over the broken bone, and in an instant, a warm current enveloped the injury. The fat man froze. Yi Qiu was healing him. Within moments, most of the pain had faded, and he gasped in relief, feeling as though he'd been given a new lease on life. He stared at Yi Qiu in bewilderment. "Why did you save me?" "I want to kill Yi Qiu, never expecting that he would still be willing to save me. I studied medicine, not to harm people, but to save them." Yi Qiu said calmly, "Saving you is my duty as a doctor. As for judging you, I leave that to the law." The fat man opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but no words came out. He truly hadn't expected that someone like him, a worthless life, would be worth saving to Yi Qiu, who didn't even hold a grudge against the man who had tried to kill him moments ago. He suddenly felt like a real piece of garbage. "Take her away." Several plainclothes officers stepped forward and, seeing that the fat man's injuries had already been treated, promptly took him away. "Brother Yi, stay safe. We're concerned this guy might have accomplices," they cautioned. "Yes, I know," replied Yi Qiu before returning to the Chu residence, where Xiao Yuer was already asleep. Chu Tiangang had arranged numerous bodyguards around the perimeter to ensure Xiao Yuer's safety, so Yi Qiu wasn't worried about that. "How about letting Xiao Yuer stay with me for a while? It's safe here." Chu Tian finally breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing the mastermind arrested, but Qi Yun's earlier threats were clearly not empty words. For people operating in underground circles like them, going in and out of prison was as routine as coming home. Especially since Qi Yun had distanced himself from the affair, all charges would fall on that fat guy, while Qi Yun would be back on the streets soon enough. Who knows what kind of revenge he might exact on Yi Qiu when that happens. "All right then, I'll trouble you with this." Yi Qiu didn't want to take any risks with Xiao Yuer. "It's my fault that you two, father and daughter, got involved. Please don't stand on ceremony with me." Chu Tiangang said. Yi Qiu didn't say anything more and returned to his room, where Xiao Yu was sound asleep hugging her stuffed toy. He sat by the bed, gazing at this adorable girl with eyes full of tenderness. "Sweetheart, Daddy will always protect you and keep you from harm." Suddenly, a shock ran through Yi Qiu's mind. That mysterious rune he'd seen earlier flashed before his eyes once more. This time, he grasped it immediately. A protective talisman. A flicker of delight crossed Yi Qiu's eyes. So such things truly exist. I can forge a protective talisman for Xiao Yuer. In his mind, the memory grew increasingly vivid. The pattern of the rune, the method of forging it, all were complete, as if they had always been etched into his consciousness. The night passed without incident. When he awoke in the morning, Xiao Yuer was crouched beside him, giggling as she watched him. "What's wrong? Is there a flower on Dad's face?" Yi Qiu couldn't help but say. "Daddy, you're talking in your sleep?" Xiao Yuer giggled. "Huh? What did I say?" "I don't know. Some weird words, all mumbly and jumbly." Xiao Yuer burst into laughter while imitating Yi Qiu's mumbling. Only then did Yi Qiu realize those were the mantras from the Jinshi Ju technique. Had he been practicing martial arts even in his dreams? He gently patted Little Fish's head. "All right, time to get up, wash up, and get ready for breakfast. Uncle Chu has hired several more chefs just to prepare food for you." "Wow, Uncle is so good to me. Xiaoyer immediately jumped out of bed and obediently went to wash up. After finishing the meal, Yiqiu had Chu Tiangang arrange for someone to take Xiaoyer to kindergarten and stay nearby to ensure her safety. Yiqiu drove his car to a street on the west side of Tianhai, a district known for trading antique items. He wanted to craft an amulet for Xiaoyer, and the older the item, the better its effect. Cool me. Take a look at this. A 300-year-old antique. Only $1,000. You won't regret buying it. This one's from the Shang Dynasty. I'll sell it to you for 35 grand. What? You want it for 160? Are you kidding me? Don't walk away. Hey, don't go. Fine, 160 is. I'll take the loss. Yiqiu couldn't help but laugh. At first glance, these things were clearly product from small workshops. 16 yuan would be about the right price. As he walked and browsed, he found nothing of real value. The place was a mixed bag, with fakes far outnumbering genuine items. Even if there were authentic goods, without a discerning eye, they'd be nearly impossible to spot. Seems he'd overestimated this place. Today might end up being a wasted trip. Suddenly, Yiqiu halted, his gaze landing on a stone coin. At first glance, it was just an ordinary coin, carved from stone, appearing utterly unremarkable, so much so that even the stall owner had casually tossed it into a corner. Clearly, no one had ever paid attention to it. Yiqiu maintained his composure as he crouched down, pretending to examine other items. What would you like? These are all genuine antiques, some dating back to the Shang and Zhou dynasties. The stall owner clearly wasn't very experienced. His sales pitch felt freshly learned and hastily applied. It had been ages since his last sale, and now that he finally had a customer, he had to make sure not to let this opportunity slip away. These few are quite interesting. Yiqiu casually picked out two. How much are they? I'll give you a good deal. 5,008. Yiqiu looked up and glanced at the stall owner, who flushed red with embarrassment, realizing the price was utter nonsense. The composed aura around Yiqiu made it clear he wasn't so easily fooled. The man chuckled awkwardly. Brother, if you like them, just name your price. How about 200? I like them, so I'll take them, Yiqiu said flatly. 200 it is. The stall owner did a quick calculation and realized there was still profit to be made, immediately agreeing. Wait a minute, Yiqiu said. Boss, you agreed so quickly that I feel a bit shortchanged. How about tossing in one more item for me, just to balance things out in my mind? The stall owner grew anxious at first, but seeing Yiqiu reach out and take the rather plain, coin-like stone from the corner, he figured it wasn't worth fussing over. All right. Since it's my first sale today, I'll give you a good deal. I have to say, young man, you've got excellent taste. These are all top-notch items. The vendor handed Yiqiu a plastic bag to pack his purchases. Yiqiu wasn't concerned about the other items and was just about to pick up the coin when suddenly, a pleasant voice rang out from behind him. Boss, I'll take that coin. Here's 5,000. Chapter 28. Seeking a doctor 5,000 for that? The stall owner froze for a moment, then looked up to see a strikingly beautiful woman exuding an unmistakable aura, the kind that made anyone who glimpsed her momentarily stunned. The vendor glanced at Yiqiu, but Yiqiu acted as if he hadn't heard a thing, picking up the coin and slipping it into his own pocket. Little brother, why don't you pick something else? Take your pick from anything here, it's all on me. No, I want this one. Yiqiu stood up to leave, and the stall owner anxiously rose to his feet. That's 5,000 yuan. How could he have guessed that by choosing a freebie, Yiqiu would walk away with 5 grand of his money? No deal, the stall owner blurted in panic. Little brother, I'm not selling those anymore. Give me those coins back. He stepped forward to stop Yiqiu, but Yiqiu didn't seem the least bit rushed. You want this coin? He turned and looked at the beautiful woman, unsure why she was staring at the coin. Yes. Lin Wanqiu met Yiqiu's gaze and gave a slight nod. It wasn't that she had a particular fondness for antiques. She was simply acting on a master's advice to seek out old items. Her bag was already filled with quite a few. She had bought them all from various vendors, though she had no idea until now that the prices could actually be haggled over. 5,000 yuan. Do you know how much this thing is really worth? Yiqiu said calmly. It's not even worth 10 yuan. Just look at the vendor's reaction, and you should understand. Hearing this, the stall owner's face flushed red and pale by turns, visibly embarrassed. Young man, how can you say that? Business is all about mutual consent. So how? Boss, comrades from the industrial and commercial department are doing inspections just up ahead. Should I call them over for you? Hearing these words, the shopkeeper instantly lost his temper. He glared at Ichio, but said nothing more. Of course, he knew these trinkets of his hadn't cost much to begin with. $5,000 could cover a month's worth of his inventory purchases. Having said that, Ichio turned and walked away, wanting no further entanglement. Hold on. But Lin Wanxiu called out to him, pointing at the coin in Ichio's pocket. I still want that thing. Since you bought it first, I could buy it back from you. She wasn't particularly concerned about the price, nor did she have the inclination to haggle. What caught her attention was that coin. Its pattern appeared identical to the one the old Taoist priest had drawn. This thing might just come in handy. I'm not selling it. Ichio glanced at Lin Wanxiu, wondering if she could also tell there was something special about it. But no matter how he looked at it, Lin Wanxiu didn't seem like someone well-versed in physiognomy or divination. Lin Wanxiu frowned slightly as she noticed Ichio staring at her. She disliked being scrutinized from head to toe like this. That kind of measuring gaze made her feel somewhat violated. She had no idea that Ichio was merely assessing whether she understood divination. Had enough of looking? Lin Wanxiu's voice carried a hint of chill. If you're done looking, hand over the coins. Name your price. Ichio smiled and waggled his finger. 10,000. Lin Wanxiu saw Ichio shaking a single finger. Or 100,000. The nearby stall owner nearly fainted. In just one exchange, the price had jumped to 100,000. He lost out big time. What I mean is it's not for sale. No matter how much you offer, I won't sell it, Ichio said, then turned and walked away without the slightest hesitation. Lin Wanxiu felt somewhat irritated as she finally realized that Ichio's gaze upon her was completely different from other men, devoid of any lust whatsoever. It seemed to be pure curiosity about why a woman like her would insist on competing with him over this coin. She chased after him for a few steps, but Ichio had already disappeared into the crowd. Sigh. Lin Wanxiu stomped her foot in frustration, thinking Ichio was really not acting like a gentleman at all. After circling around once more without any luck, she returned to the hotel with the items she'd collected. Back at the hotel, Lin Wanxiu photographed each item and sent the pictures to the old Taoist priest in faraway Kyoto. But the priest kept shaking his head. None were what he wanted. None of these are useful, Lin Wanxiu sighed. You said Tianhai might have them, but after searching everywhere, these are all I could find. However, I did find one coin. She gestured, the kind you drew last time. Hearing this, the old Taoist immediately asked, where's the coin? Someone else bought it. The old Taoist slapped his thigh in frustration. At this exclamation, Lin Wanxiu froze. Was that thing important? Very, very important. The old Taoist grew frantic. That item is perfect for crafting an amulet. It could at least improve your father's health. Quickly, go see if you can buy it. He refuses to sell. Lin Wanxiu shook her head. I even offered 10,000, and he still wouldn't budge. The mere thought that Ichio had picked it up as a mere afterthought, likely for less than $10, yet now refused to sell even for 10,000. It was clearly deliberate. 10,000? Ancestors above. That thing's worth millions, easily. The old Taoist couldn't help but jump up. I'm afraid that fellow knows his stuff. Lin Wanxiu was astonished. If that were the case, then she had even less of a chance. Someone who knows their trade would never sell such a thing to someone else. It seems there's no hope for that thing anymore. The old Taoist priest sighed regretfully, wishing he had gone along. You'd better track down that miracle doctor first. Perhaps they'll have a solution. Lin Wanxiu nodded. She thought to herself that if she could see Ichio again, she would spare no expense to buy back that coin. For now, her only option was to seek out the legendary miracle doctor. She had come all the way from the capital after hearing rumors of a miraculous physician in Tianhai, one with mysterious healing powers capable of reviving the dead. The trip had also allowed her to collect some antique artifacts for making protective talismans. Never did she expect to miss acquiring such a useful coin. She could only hope this miracle doctor wouldn't prove to be another disappointment. If the miracle-working doctor could cure her father's illness, then whether she had an amulet or not would matter. Lin Wanqiu didn't dare to delay another moment. She immediately hailed a cab to Tianhai First Hospital, heading straight to the director's office to identify herself and state her purpose. She was looking for the hospital's miracle doctor. Hearing Lin Wanqiu's status, the director didn't dare hesitate. He quickly called Gao Qiao and asked him to come over immediately. Miss Lin, Elder Gao is our hospital's miracle doctor, our institution's most prized treasure. The dean introduced. What's your father's condition? You can tell Elder Gao about it. Gao Qiao nodded slightly, never expecting someone would travel all the way from the capital, seeking him out by reputation. He couldn't help feeling gratified. His years of effort hadn't been in vain. However, after listening to Lin Wanqiu describe her father's illness, Gao Qiao's brows furrowed tightly, nearly forming the character for river between them. You must have consulted physicians from the Capital National Medical Hall already, Gao Qiao asked. I've looked. They couldn't do anything either, Lin Wanqiu nodded. Indeed, this illness is extremely challenging. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. Gao Qiao sighed. Lin Wanqiu couldn't help but feel disappointed. Had even the last glimmer of hope been shattered? But there's one person who can definitely cure it. Chapter 29. How would you know? Chapter 29. How would you know? Hearing these words from Gao Qiao, Lin Wanqiu immediately asked, there's still someone who can treat it. That's right. If even he can't cure it, then I'm afraid no one in this world can. Gao Qiao nodded earnestly. Lin Wanqiu was somewhat astonished. Gao Qiao was a top expert at Tianhai First Hospital, the crown jewel of the institution. Even the physicians at the prestigious Jingdu Traditional Medical Center had heard of Gao Qiao, yet he too had been unable to find a solution. Now, it sounded like there was someone else, and, judging by Gao Qiao's tone, this person's medical skills far surpass his own. Where is he? Lin Wanqiu asked, skepticism mixed with hope. Could you introduce me to him, Dr. Gao? She had no other options left. Any possibility was worth trying now, even if it meant risking deception. At least the Gao Qiao before her was virtuous and esteemed, unlikely to deceive her. Gao Qiao paused, remaining silent, and Lin Wanqiu assumed he was waiting for some form of benefit from her. Money isn't an issue. I'll pay whatever it takes to cure my father's illness. You've misunderstood. This isn't about money. Gao Qiao repeatedly waved his hand. I'm not sure if he's free these days, but of course, if he has time, he'll definitely help when I ask. That guy's had a really kind heart. Could you please help me ask, Elder Gao? Lin Wanqiu said very politely. Gao Qiao nodded. Just a moment. He got up and went out to make the phone call, afraid that if Yi Qiu rejected him later, it would be quite embarrassing. At this moment, Yi Qiu was at home, taking advantage of the time when Yi Xiaoyu had gone to kindergarten, crafting a protective talisman for her. In his mind, the mystical symbols were crystal clear, as if they had been inherently imprinted in his memory, profoundly mysterious. Even the method of crafting seemed second nature to Yi Qiu, as though he had mastered this skill long ago. He channeled the noble qi circulating within his body, letting it surge through his palms to make the coin grow increasingly hotter. Seizing the perfect moment, Yi Qiu traced lines with his fingers, imprinting the talismanic patterns from his memory one by one onto the coin's surface. Precise and flawless. Such meticulous craftsmanship was akin to carving the Qingming riverside scene onto a single grain of rice, utterly breathtaking to behold. Had Gao Qiao been present to witness this scene, he would likely have leapt up in shock. Done! In just this sequence, Yi Qiu swiftly completed his work. He could feel the coin emitting a faint warmth. From different angles, he could sense the faintly glowing runes engraved on its surface. With this talisman, he could protect Yi Xiaoyu in crucial moments. Ring, ring, ring. The phone rang. Yi Qiu tucked the coin away and glanced at the number. It was Gao Qiao calling. Gao Qiao had been instrumental in apprehending Qi Yin last time. It seemed this favor would have to be repaid. Yi Qiu picked up the phone. Old Gao, what's the matter? Yi Qiu, what are you busy with? Got some free time to come over for tea? Gao Qiao asked with a chuckle. Tea's not necessary. Just tell me what's wrong directly. Yi Qiu could read him perfectly. Since when did this sly old fox Gao Qiao genuinely invite anyone just for tea? If he was calling, something was definitely up. Here's the thing. I have a patient here with a tricky condition, and I was hoping you could help treat them. Old Gao's medical skills, Surely they're sufficient? Ha ha ha. I just wanted to see how you treat it. Gao Qiao would never admit his own medical skills fell short. He was a man who valued his pride. Mainly because with this sort of illness, you're definitely more skilled. Come and lend a hand when you're free. With Gao Qiao putting it like that, how could Yi Qiu possibly refuse? You checked the time. It wasn't yet time for Yi Xiaoyuer to finish school, so he might as well make the trip over. All right, I'll be there soon. Hanging up the phone, Yi Qiu got up and drove towards First Hospital. Having secured Yi Qiu's agreement, Gao Qiao couldn't hide his delight. As he entered the office, Lin Wanqiu asked, "So, does that miracle doctor have time?" Originally, he didn't. Gao Qiao sighed. "I had to swallow my pride and insist he come. He owes me that much at least." "Thank you, Elder Gao." Lin Wanqiu nodded, feeling both anxious and eager. She wondered who this miracle doctor was, possessing such extraordinary skill that even Gao Qiao trusted him implicitly. She consulted practitioners from traditional Chinese medicine halls and sought out many renowned doctors rumored to have remarkable skills, yet no one could cure her condition. In fact, many would simply shake their heads upon hearing her symptoms, saying there was no solution. At most, they could prescribe some medicine for her to try, with none daring to claim they could actually cure her. The two of them leisurely brewed tea and chatted while waiting for Yi Qiu's arrival. Before long, the sound of footsteps echoed from outside. Gao Qiao pricked up his ears and laughed. "Ha, speak of the devil. Here he comes." He quickly stood up. "Let me introduce you." Lin Wanqiu rose to her feet as well, just as the office door opened. She looked up and froze at the sight of the person entering, while Yi Qiu also paused upon seeing her. "Why is it you?" they exclaimed simultaneously. Now, it was Gao Qiao's turn to be stunned. Glancing between Lin Wanqiu and Yi Qiu, he asked in surprise, "You two know each other?" He wanted to say, if Lin Wanqiu knew Yi Qiu, how could she not be aware that Yi Qiu himself was a miraculous doctor? "I don't know them." They spoke in unison again. Gao Qiao was utterly baffled. How could this be called not knowing? He suddenly found himself at a loss for introductions. "We've crossed paths once before." Lin Wanqiu was the first to break the silence. "I hadn't expected you to be the renowned miracle doctor old Master Gao spoke of, though you do seem rather young." Her tone carried a note of skepticism. Clearly, the famous physicians she knew from a national medical hall were all considerably older, if not gray-haired, than at least in their 40s or 50s. The Yi Qiu before me probably wasn't even 30 yet. "Who said young people can't be good doctors?" Yi Qiu said, "If you don't believe in my medical skills, there was no need to invite me here." Detecting the arrogance in Yi Qiu's tone, Lin Wanqiu hadn't expected him to get angry. He'd stolen her coin, and that matter hadn't even been addressed yet. "Miss Lin, you can rest assured, I can vouch for Yi Qiu's medical skills." Gao Qiao hurriedly stepped in to mediate. "How about this? Tell him your father's symptoms, and let's hear his diagnosis, all right?" If it weren't for Gao Qiao explaining things here, Lin Wanqiu would have truly believed Yi Qiu was just some snake oil salesman. But remembering the old Taoist priest's words about Yi Qiu being able to pick out valuable coins at flea markets, clearly this was no ordinary trickster. She nodded and described her father's strange symptoms in detail. "Does he suffer from excessive sleepiness, especially having day-night reversal? Unable to sleep at night no matter what, yet impossible to wake during the day." After listening, Yi Qiu pondered slightly before asking his question. Upon hearing this, Lin Wanqiu was stunned, her face filled with disbelief. "How did you know?" She hadn't mentioned any of these details to Yi Qiu yet. There was no way he could have known.